Hey now, and go Knicks. We are getting over, and I am your NBA champion, Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here to break down everything that happened in WWE over the last week. We also have vintage Chris Vannini back in the saddle to briefly discuss his thoughts on last week in WWE before we tackle every single thing that happened across Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown before this episode is out. It has been a whirlwind 2 weeks for the Silver King. You can probably hear how amped up I am at the start of the show. So let's get you amped up as well. For one thing in particular, a reminder that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, for Vintage, for Getting Over. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. Normally, we integrate them into the program. Silver King has been all over the East Coast over the last couple of weeks. Have not been able to do it. We will get to it next week and moving forward. When you follow us on social media there, you can do all of those things on YouTube. You can listen to the show. You can watch full-length video interviews. You can hit the link in our social media profiles to join our free Slack channel, to buy your Danhausen New York Knicks shirts for the NBA champions in the WWE shop. We get a 10% cut on anything that you buy. You can subscribe on any variety of services. Make sure you hit us up on social media at Getting Overcast. Now, you can tell this episode is going to be themed in one specific way.
Go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! Say go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go!
Because Silver King is riding high after spending the last week in the city that never sleeps in Manhattan, attending Game 3, unfortunately, and Game 4, fortunately, of the NBA Finals, seeing that incredible tip-in from OG Anunoby, watching an hour after I returned from New York, the New York Knicks, my New York Knicks, win the NBA championship for the first time in my entire life, the first time in 53 years. I had to deal with the bullshit in 1994 and 1999. Being able to experience this, being in the city, to feel the fans and the atmosphere and how everything was popping off, riding the subway, sitting in cabs, I'm not someone who goes to Times Square. That's not what you do when you go to New York. It's really not, unless you're just a pure tourist. But walk in Times Square and Broadway, the East Village, the West Village, the Lower East Side. I didn't get my ass over to Brooklyn. I wish I did. Midtown Manhattan. It was just one of the most special trips and experiences of my entire life. I have a ton to say about it. I don't know how much all of you care to hear, but we do need to remember this pure axiom when it comes to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast.
This is my show. My show.
So before we get to the Silver King full takeover of Getting Over Vintage, welcome back to the program. We just completed our first ever 1 episode week in Getting Over history. Our normal minimum is 2. We've done as many as, 6 before, 7, something like that. You were not on the show, Pat, for no fault of your own. You were available. You were ready. Silver King did not have his proper equipment. And more than that, I did not have time to watch wrestling, let alone enough wrestling to get you in on any type of taping before Wednesday afternoon. So I appreciate your patience. Thank you for understanding. Thanks to all the listeners for understanding. Silver King had to just do that 1 episode. By the way, it was episode 900. 1 episode on his own, but I'm glad to have you back on the show as well.
Good to be here. Congrats to you. You know, when the Knicks lost Game 3, which you were at,
yes,
and then they were down by 29 in Game 4,
yes,
my thought was, man, I feel bad for the Silver King. Like he got to go to 2 Knicks finals games, and they're going to lose both of them
Yep.
and blow a 2-0 series lead, I felt bad for you. And then the Knicks come back to win. Many people in the Getting Over Slack wanted a welfare check to make sure that you were doing okay. Glad that you are. And then they go on and win the championship a couple days later. Congratulations. The scenes in New York looked really, really cool. Was a lot of FOMO. Kind of wish you could be out there just partying with everybody and doing that kind of stuff. I've had a busy weekend as well in terms of trying to watch wrestling. I covered a World Cup game on
Amazing.
Sunday. That's a whole experience. Brendan Sorsby stuff in college football was going on nonstop. I watched the U.S. game on Friday night in a bar. I'm like full World Cup fever right now on top of that. So a lot is going on, but congratulations to you. And I would say one other thing. Your online Knicks friends need to understand when I make a joke on Twitter, because I tweeted, along with many tweets congratulating New York and Jalen Brunson and all that stuff. I did post one where I said the Knicks title should have an asterisk because they went 0-3 against the Pistons with an average margin of defeat of 28 points.
Yeah, clear joke.
Unfortunately, the Knicks.
Yeah,
it's clear. I called
joke.
the Pistons the transitive champions,
right,
to make it abundantly clear it was a joke. And I got a lot of people who were very upset about it.
Yeah, it's like when someone says, well, Appalachian State is the transitive, college football champion because they beat an FBS team in week 1 or, whatever the case might be. And they beat that team. So it was clear. I paid that no mind. I also just didn't have the time or energy to get involved in that conversation. But you did say something important.
It's me coping. It's me coping with my number 1 seed Pistons, home of Danhausen, by the way, blowing it against the Cavs, not making it to the conference finals. I still am upset.
We were talking about what if we get a Knicks Pistons series.
Danhausen, yeah,
we thought we were going to get a Knicks Pistons series, and you guys blew it. Like, it could have been incredible content for the podcast.
We did,
yeah. But yeah,
anyway,
you guys,
congratulations to you guys. That was fun. World Cup's been fun as well, but there's also wrestling to get into. They were just in Europe as well, so just a whole lot of stuff's been going on.
Oh, yeah, the timing didn't help either. I mean, these shows were in the middle of the day. I was in my office working while I was in New York. It was a fun trip, but I had other stuff to do as well. So I'm going to say 2 things. First, any rumors of the demise of the New York Knicks midway through Game 4, greatly exaggerated.
No.
And as you said,
Congratulations to me.
Yeah, congratulations to me. I'm going to take every ounce of that because guess what? Silver King deserves it. The New York Knicks deserve it. The fan base deserves it. The city deserves it. And I agree with you. I had, despite being there for a week, watching the celebration after Game 5 on Saturday night. I was trying to remember the day. I had such FOMO of like, I saw all this, but I didn't see this. You know what I mean? Like that explosion of humanity into the streets was absolutely incredible. Silver King did a lot of cool shit, in New York. I met Patrick Ewing, my all-time favorite basketball player who I've never met before. I met Clyde Drexler. Incredible. Maybe the greatest Knick of all time. Iman Shumpert, Jeremy Lin. And the first night I was there, I didn't even realize the Tony Awards were happening. I went to Monkey Bar, which is a very popular restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. I met John Lithgow, who won a Tony earlier that night.
Yeah.
The guy's like 81 years old. He's like, screw this. I'm not staying for the rest of the show. He got out of there. I didn't get to see the award. It was apparently in his limo. I met him. Super nice guy. Offered my congratulations. I Googled it. Like, I was like, did he just win the Tony? Because someone was telling me the awards. I got to see Aubrey Plaza outside Radio City Music Hall. Like, that was pre going to these games. And then, of course, I got to go to the games and just phenomenal.
And there's
stuff.
somebody else you met at the first night of games.
I was going to save that.
About it in
yeah, I was going to save it. But before Game 3, I'm walking in the media area. And look, I'll just be candid with all of you. So before the Game 3 and Game 4 of the finals, I reached out to WWE. And I said, look, guys, I'm going to be at this game. I'm going to have recording equipment. If Danhausen is going to attend, I'd love to interview him for the show. I'd love to be able to speak to him. Maybe even write a story for my full-time job on him uncursing the Knicks and what everything means. And I was told, don't know if he's going to make it to Game 3A. And then there was a deleted text, which I won't share because it was deleted. But the long and short of it was someone offered a personal opinion on whether it made sense to send him before it was over, basically. Well, they sent him. And WWE did not hook it up for an interview. And that's okay because he only did stuff with ESPN, which is their relationship. It's totally fine. But I was walking in the media area. I had just gotten some chicken fingers and was going back to my seat, ready to eat, just get things done before the game started. I looked to my left. There's a very nice, very evil demon in black, white, and red face paint and in his number 0 Knicks jersey, just sitting there by himself doing nothing. So I put my chicken fingers down. I walk over. Obviously, I just offered him congratulations on his recent success and, where his career has gone. Danhausen was an incredibly nice guy. I obviously mentioned I'd love to have him on the show sooner than later. I will reach out to WWE and see if we can make it happen. But it was just a real nice, 3-4 minute conversation, super down to earth guy. You can tell that the success he's experienced recently, not just with WWE, but specifically with the Knicks, completely unexpected, of course, out of nowhere. And he was just there taking it in, but he seemed super confident and just ready to go through everything. I mean, the fact that this guy is on ESPN, he was mentioned on The Tonight Show on Monday night. They did an entire Knicks episode, and Jimmy Fallon brought him up to Jalen Brunson, who said he acknowledges Danhausen. Like, this is real shit that's happening right now. I'm going to mention this in a second. WWE is going to be holding Saturday night's main event July 18th in Madison Square Garden. Like, I assume they're going to get Brunson and Danhausen, all those people there. So it was just a really special experience, and getting a small bit of WWE infusion into my experience at the NBA Finals that kind of put it over the top. I mean, look, Patrick Ewing and Clyde Drexler, those were, life moments that I will remember. But Danhausen was a nice cherry on top of it.
And I had a little bit too. I was at the Netherlands Japan game here in Dallas, and in the crowd they showed Liv Morgan.
They did, yeah,
of all people, and a label. It said WWE Women's Champion. So whoever set that up, get down the screen. Good job. So we both had some wrestling in our non-wrestling endeavors over the weekend.
Did you see that people had? I mean, I didn't look into it at all because I just haven't had time. But like, they Googled the guy who was sitting next to her, and apparently he's super problematic in some way. Did you see anything about that?
I did not see that. Okay. I saw some people thought it was her boyfriend. I don't know. I saw her on the screen. I was doing too many other things. I haven't seen the conversation.
Gotcha. Well, look, speaking of conversation, we have plenty of that still to come on this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. I appreciate all of you indulging me off the top of the show. Didn't know how long it was going to go, but I got to tell you, when you guys experience a week like that, you just want to talk about it. And again, I happen to have the opportunity. I have the avenue. I have the platform. After all,
this is my show. My show.
But all right, let's get into the conversation about everything that happened in WWE. We're going to hit the main event. We're going to hit the good, the bad, and the ugly.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
And we do have a number of items, mostly around scheduling and events, to cover before we get into the meat of the show. In terms of WWE Night of Champions, the most notable item is that the show is simply happening as it was scheduled, Saturday, June 27th. Also on Tuesday, Rhea Ripley was removed from the poster due to some kind of knee injury, something we will discuss a bit later. Long and short of it is that I'm certainly not surprised the event is happening, just given the money at stake. But while tensions, seem to have calmed a bit in the region, I'm not going to call it a safe area. And I certainly, as a fan, would be preferring if WWE was not doing the show there at all, but especially this year, this month, at this time.
Yeah, obviously there's a potential ceasefire type of thing going on that we don't exactly know all the details of, but things seem to be settling down a bit. So that would be good timing. As we've said many times on the show, we don't like WWE doing these shows, but especially this one at this time, given everything. But it does look better now than it did, a month ago.
Yeah, last time we discussed it, it's certainly seems to be in a better spot. Roman Reigns was announced for the next WWE Saturday Night's main event, which is set, as I mentioned a moment ago, for July 18th and taking place in Madison Square Garden. Again, just talk about an incredibly lucky booking by WWE. It is so expensive to run Madison Square Garden, especially for television tapings. And they've just recently started doing it again for like Raw or SmackDown or whatever the case might be. They're putting a Saturday night's main event there 1 month after the NBA Finals. And the New York Knicks just so happened to win their first title in 53 years. Now, Reigns being there is certainly great. I'm fully focused on what's going to happen with the Knicks. they have to get Brunson on that show at a minimum. Now, I hope they get the entire team, but if you get Brunson and you include the Danhausen element, I mean, you have something that has the potential to be like an all-time Saturday Night's Main Event episode. And I should mention this as well. When I was in New York, I've seen people talking about, Danhausen, he's on ESPN and they do the next thing. He hasn't really broken through. I saw no fewer than 20 people in Knicks Danhausen stuff during my time in the city. And he got acknowledged, I mentioned this as well, on the Tonight Show this Monday by Brunson, which itself was awesome. My point is, there's millions of people in New York, obviously, and thousands, 20,000, that went to each of these games. But if I saw 20 people wearing Danhausen shirts, that means there's probably hundreds who were in the arena, let's call it, thousands in the city who have the shirt. I'm just trying to extrapolate. I don't know exactly. My point is, he has broken through to at least some degree. And if they are able to capitalize on all of this at this Saturday Night's Main Event, like, who knows how far this can go. It's to the point, Vintage. I'm actually considering going back to New York for this show. I'm probably not going to do it because I'm thinking what I'll most likely do is go back next year for the ring ceremony instead. And it's only a month away. But I have a feeling I'm going to have major FOMO if I don't attend Saturday Night's Main Event and Brunson and the Knicks are there.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably do something. I don't know if it'll be that much because these shows usually like 2 hours, or are they a little bit different now because it's only on Peacock?
2+ with 4 to 5 matches.
Yeah. So like these things are usually pretty lean. I imagine they'll do a segment. I don't know how much else they can do. And in terms of,
well, don't forget what they did last time they were in Madison Square Garden. Maybe it was 2 times ago. They had Brunson, they had Tyrese Halliburton, LA Knight, and The Miz, I want to say.
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, that's right, because of it was Cleveland, Ohio. Logan Paul were also involved, and they did the steel chair gimmick. That was like 2 years ago.
Right, but that was like a segment, or it was like beginning of the show and then like later.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That's my expectation, is a segment involving them.
Yeah. In terms of Danhausen breaking through, I don't even know what the concept even means. Like, one, who cares? Like, it makes sense for him to do this, for WWE to do this. People like it. It's funny. Like, it makes sense for everybody to get involved as much as you can. It's not like we're going to come out of this with a push for Danhausen to win the WWE Championship. No. It's just like, he's a goofy guy who, honestly, he's probably breaking more through for just being himself than he is for being WWE. Like, he doesn't look like a wrestler. He's like a cartoon character. And so people see that and they're like, who is this guy? You don't instantly think like, oh, he's a pro wrestler. So I think this is creating opportunities for him in all kinds of things, whether or not it's WWE specific.
Well, it's the fact that this is happening in the biggest media market in the entire country. If this was Cleveland or, no offense, Detroit, it has power in the moment. This being in New York has staying power. And him being a part of, it wasn't just that they won. It was that they won 15 of 16 games, and the only one they lost was heavily circumstantial for reasons we won't necessarily get into.
Mostly that they won. If they had lost in the NBA Finals,
but it was winning on the end of the fact that they won 14 straight games after he uncursed them. Like,
right.
Like the uncursing,
it was a funny bit,
actually resulted in something crazy. Yeah.
He got several segments with Stephen A. Smith. Like, yeah, it was fun for everybody to lean into it. It kept working. Good for him. What does it mean otherwise? I don't know. The idea, people saying it didn't break through or did, like, it's just like bizarre thinking, I guess.
That what's bizarre thinking?
The idea that it doesn't really break through. I don't even know what that means. Because again, he's a totally different concept than like some pro wrestler that they're trying to push. He's just a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's I don't understand why people were trying to downplay it. But the point is, you can't
it's not
anymore.
The internet, I know.
Yeah, you can't anymore based on what's happened over the last couple of weeks. In an interesting double move, WWE Money in the Bank has been shifted from September to October, with another special, Sunday night's main event, replacing it on September 6th, which is the final Sunday without NFL competition before the season begins. Couple notes here. First, I am sure there's a contractual branding reason why WWE did not do this. But holy hell, what a ridiculous missed opportunity to not call this show Sunday Night Heat. That would be such a fun throwback, an entirely different aesthetic. People would latch onto it. It's one of those things that boggles my mind. And doing Sunday Night Heat, I believe the show is going to be in Atlanta. That also fits incredibly well. Maybe it's contractual with NBC Universal. Maybe it's a branding decision. They find blank night's main event to be so much stronger, but still it's a miss as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Saturday Night's Main Event was known historically back in the 80s and whatever for being like a big show, while Sunday Night Heat in the late 90s was like a 1 hour tape show. Sometimes it was the pre-show for a pay-per-view. So like historically, Saturday Night's Main Event is a bigger deal. But yeah, it would have been fun as a one-off. Sunday Night's Main Event sounds weird on its own. It's kind of like when they do like Thursday Night Football, but it's on like Monday or something like that when they get it into the late in the season. But Sunday Night Heat would have been a lot more fun.
No doubt. Now, as far as Money in the Bank moving to October, I can confirm that ESPN played a significant role in that decision. You'll remember last year, we contextualized how ridiculous it was that WWE had basically created 8 number 1 contenderships at premium live events in a 6-month span, because you had the Royal Rumble, then Elimination Chamber, both before WrestleMania. Then you had Money in the Bank and the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments before SummerSlam. So moving Money in the Bank after SummerSlam, creating excitement with the briefcases during what is normally a down period for the company, the late summer into fall, that's a fantastic idea. But now that it's being pushed all the way to October, we're getting super late into the calendar. That's only about 3 months until the Royal Rumble. So it's almost as if the shift has just been pushed to the other side of the Royal Rumble, on the other side of WrestleMania. Money in the Bank needs to be late August or early September. And I hope that's what happens in the future. I am a little bit more concerned about its timing now than I was when it was announced in September. I thought it was a genius idea. Vintage, where do you stand on that?
I don't think this is much of a difference. It's 1 month.
Okay.
If they don't cash in the night of the show, they're usually not cashing in within a month. So I think it's fine. It's whatever. Either it's after SummerSlam, which was the most important thing. You push it back another month. That's okay. I honestly don't think it's a big deal.
Fair enough. Dwayne Johnson last week announced that he had a testicular cancer scare after finding a painful lump. It was ultimately benign. So basically it was just a rock on the rock. That's scary, but glad he's okay. I cannot confirm this personally, as I have not had time to watch, but apparently I got multiple messages on this. WWE Main Event, which streams on YouTube, it's featured some banger matches of late. I heard Jordan Grace and Julia put on like a B-level match, maybe even a little bit higher. It was short, though. There was also an Axiom Kit Wilson match a couple weeks ago people messaged me about. So if you're looking for something to watch, maybe check out Main Event on YouTube. I don't know. WWE is auctioning off El Grande Americano's mask from Máscara contra Máscara, and 100% of the proceeds are benefiting a Mexican charity that supports children. That is obviously amazing. I was thinking, though, Vintage, I don't love the idea of WWE not having that mask in its possession, considering its place in history. I wish someone within the company would win the auction and then just donate a shitload of money to the charity. Or WWE would just give a bunch of money to the charity on behalf of the mask because they made so much on the show, or whatever the case might be. I don't love the idea of that going to a private collector when that was a tentpole moment for AAA and for WWE as well.
But is this going through Fanatics?
So yeah, all of WWE's auctions do go through Fanatics because that's their store. But They did say 100% of the proceeds are going to charity. So, it's going to the Dr. Sonrayas Foundation supporting children facing life-threatening health conditions. Non-profit organization dedicated to changing lives of children suffering from critical illnesses by fulfilling their greatest dreams and bringing them joy. So it sounds like Mexican Make-A-Wish, perhaps, something similar.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's awesome. I'm just thinking, why didn't you guys just donate $100,000 and then keep the mask for your Hall of Fame, for your touring, for your archive,
My thought there was his Fanatics has really gotten into the collectibles space. And even if they're not taking proceeds from this, I guess it's another promotion of Fanatics or something like that.
A feather in their cap,
if this was some other,
kind of.
if this was some other sport, we'd be like, hey, can we take the ball? We'll give you a bat and tickets to the next game or something like that. But they already have the object. It's the mask. So I mean, there's not a like real like WWE / Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame that people can go to. This would be like the perfect thing to put in there. But if not, I mean, what else is going to WWE do with it? Just put it in the warehouse or something? I don't know.
I mean, you put it on display at all the WWE worlds,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, so I checked. The current bid is $32,000. There's been 88 bids. It closes in 9 days and 6 hours at the time of this taping. So that's June 25th. So at 32 grand already, bidding usually heats up toward the end. This might hit $100,000. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
I like the idea that there's these like secret pro wrestling collectors with things like art. And
Dude,
it's gonna travel internationally.
There
or something like that.
There are so many like insanely wealthy people who own things that you would never guess were privately owned. And we're not just talking about like sports memorabilia. We're talking about like works of art, like tracks of music, like random shit that these insanely wealthy people, not just in the United States, in fact, mostly not in the United States, that they own. They have these crazy collections, and it's stuff people never see because it's hidden away in some dude's trophy room or some woman's trophy room.
Yeah.
I found it extremely interesting on Friday night. 17 women were featured on SmackDown, which is proof that the booking of the division on that show has been more concerted, even if it still has a long way to go in terms of being quality and entertaining. I cannot remember the last time that many women were utilized on one episode of SmackDown, nor when the division was featured as strongly as it was. 3 of the 4 matches on the show, 3 of the first 4, and 3 of 5 overall involved the women. This is something that happens regularly on NXT, occasionally on Raw. It almost never happens on SmackDown. So I don't know if you noticed it watching live or when you were able to watch the show Vintage, but it stood out to me for sure.
Yeah, no, and part of it was, Queen of the Ring stuff and tag team stuff and all this. So, but it's always good to hear that and to see the numbers like that. It's a good step in the right direction.
Now, in terms of TV this week, look, the Providence crowd was straight up awful. For SmackDown, it's always bad every time they go to Providence. Baltimore for Raw, by comparison, was fantastic. WWE basically sold out a 12,000-seat arena for a random Raw in June. The wrestling was far better on Friday night, relatively weak on Monday, but the storytelling was pretty damn strong, across both shows when it came to the extended main event, which really covered, 10 to 15 men and was integrated across both SmackDown and Raw. I found it interesting. I believe there was only 1 disqualification in all the matches that were held, a relative reduction in interferences, and on Raw, not 1 but 2 submission tap-out victories, which almost never happens. Still, I don't know who did or did not watch NXT last week. The match quality on NXT, WWE's developmental brand, blew SmackDown and Raw completely out of the water, which is insane. And we will discuss NXT, a double dose, along with AEW, also a double dose, this Thursday on an extended edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. But Vintage, general thoughts from Raw and SmackDown this week.
Yeah, SmackDown crowd was absolutely dead, like you said. It was better on Raw. I think we're in kind of a weird place right now with storytelling because we're like close enough to SummerSlam that we're talking about it, but not close enough where it's going to happen. And we've got like minor stuff in between. So just the pacing of stories has been it has varied wildly from feud to feud. We're out of WrestleMania. We're out of the big European tour where they go big on a lot of stuff. And it's like, now we kind of got to regroup and get it going. And so I think it was a step in the right. I thought these last 2 episodes were much better story-wise than last week when I wasn't on the show.
No doubt about it. They were far less frustrating. I don't want to use the word again, but more concerted in terms of what they were trying to accomplish, and just stronger from top to bottom, especially when it came to the main event storytelling. And perhaps that's because SummerSlam is getting closer and the prior week was one of those, just push forward weeks where you kind of kick the can down the road a little bit just to make sure you get a little bit closer to the premium live event. It's possible. But this week was much better across the board. Now, before we get into the entire breakdowns from Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, as I mentioned, Vintage was not on the show last week, and that was Silver King's fault. I'm going to prompt you, Chris, with 4 topics from last week that I covered in relative depth. Just want to get your quick takes so everyone knows where you stand on them before we break down all the new content from SmackDown and Raw. First, it was Cody Rhodes and Gunther somewhat repeating the Drew McIntyre booking in terms of the heel getting screwed out of a title, then somewhat refusing to rematch without being able to choose his own stipulation, but not being able, or willing, I should say, to announce it immediately on the show, making someone wait to the next week. Did you, like I, get some of the feeling of, didn't we just do this?
Yes, I did. It felt very weird. It felt weird, Gunther talking about his lawyers when we had been under the kind of assumption that Paul Heyman was sort of acting as his lawyer. Paul Heyman's the one who got him to SmackDown and got that contract that he then didn't want to sign for whatever
and
reason.
Never did sign on television. Never signed it on TV.
And then Heyman just left, and I was like, okay, so I guess we're done with that. But now Gunther just has lawyers that we're not seeing or whatever. It's it has felt for a couple of weeks with Gunther Cody that they're just stalling.
Yeah.
Like we got nothing for this week. Let's drag it out another week and get closer to the next pay-per-view or whenever we're supposed to have this match. And coming out of last week, it was like, man, they're just stretching and doing stuff that they did a year ago with him.
Oba Femi, Javon Evans, and Dominic Mysterio all won King of the Ring qualifiers in the fashion that they did. Young guys being elevated. They were all from Raw, of course, but they obviously won matches across different shows. But I mean, Vintage, like those 3 names being in the semifinals, like incredibly important as far as WWE moving forward and doing what so many people have been asking them to do, which is build up new talent.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was new or at least I hadn't done this in the main roster for the first time, but the entrance of Oba from behind now, where you see his shadow over the crowd.
Yeah.
I knew they did that in NXT, but I hadn't seen them really do that in the main roster. And it looked awesome. Like they just remembered that they could do that. It was awesome. And yeah, it is a bunch of new faces who are being pushed. Like there's this weird, I never want to get too much into online conversation, but there have been online conversation that WWE, they're just running back the bloodline. They're not building new stars. And I'm like, are you paying attention to what's going on in the rest of the show?
They're not watching the show.
They are pushing all of these people a lot more, sometimes in place of other people I would like to get pushed more instead, like a Rusev or a Finn Balor or something like that.
Yeah.
But they are going really hard with these guys. And that has always been the best thing since Triple H took over, which was he moves to new people and then elevates them. And then you find someone else and do that too. You put Jey Uso in the main event. You had LA Knight in some main events a couple years ago. Like people forget how dreadful the show was when Vince was in charge and he actually couldn't make main eventers or bigger stars anymore. The roster is so incredibly deep because they make a concerted effort, and they have done that in the year of 2026 with Oba, with Javon Evans, with Penta, Sol Ruka a little bit too, Trick Williams. Like they look where we were a year ago. A lot of the people who are on these shows a lot right now were not here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned also the logjam because there's simultaneously veterans who we want to get pushed, and there's young guys that we want to get pushed. But we don't want WWE to create any more titles, right? So there's only so many areas in which these people can be utilized. And look, I have a frustration with King of the Ring. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But the fact that 3 out of 4 semifinalists, 75%, are young dudes who are at a level they have not been at previously, that is immensely, immensely positive. And again, they could get it all wrong. They still can because of who that 4th semifinalist is. But when you look at, getting out of the first round, at least, a lot of positive decisions were made. 2 other items from last week, Vintage. The elevation of Chad Gable across both shows, coming off of Mascara contra Mascara, saving Rey Mysterio, and I think it was Penta, from that attack on Raw, especially from Rusev and Ethan Page, the massive pops he got on both shows. I got to tell you, I had hope that WWE would lean into Gable. I did not expect them to go all in with him coming out of his run in AAA.
They had to. They had to do it, and they had to do it now. You couldn't wait a month and come back and start it. You had to do it right away, and they have. And it continued on the next shows that we'll talk about, and I'll save more thoughts for then. But they're going really hard with Chad Gable right now, as they should, and he's getting the reactions. That's very good.
And it's exactly what we've wanted for a long time. It's also, to your point a moment ago, we want all these young guys featured, but there's also some veterans who we've badly wanted to get pushed. And he's one of them. So how do you manage pushing Gable, but also pushing Javon Evans? And how do you not push Javon too high? Because he's 22 years old. He's going to have, a 20-year career potentially in this company, right? You can't make him world champion right away. So it's that balancing act that's extremely difficult. And lastly here, Seth Rollins calling out Roman Reigns somewhat randomly in that backstage segment. If memory serves, it was because he was trying to, of course, qualify or I guess advance past the quarterfinal round of King of the Ring into the semifinal to win a number one contendership and get an opportunity to face him. I just thought his promo and really a lot of what they did on the back end of that was super successful last week.
Yeah, anytime Seth mentions Roman, your ears are going to perk up. And we're going to say, oh, is that going to be something? But a lot of people have been calling out Roman Reigns for the past few months, and he has not, no pun intended, acknowledged any of them. So we'll see. I mean, someone's going to win King of the Ring and fight one of these champions. So I like when they put out things that make you think multiple things are possible. And they have done that with the men's King of the Ring. Someone wins, they say, I'm coming for you. Someone else says, I'm coming for the other person. And you need to create that doubt where we don't know or don't think it's obvious who's going to win these things. So that helped.
All right. So that was last week, this week with vintage Chris Vannini. It is now time for us to discuss everything that happened across Raw and SmackDown this week. But before we do, Silver King needs to remind you here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reaction to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. This Sunday, Silver King published a 1,500-word op-ed that I called CM Punk for Clicks, basically going deep on everything that happened with Punk over the last week while we were not able to discuss it on the show. I don't even know if I would have brought it up on the show, but I wanted to dive into all of that. I spent a lot of time. I appreciate those of you who have sent us notes about how much you enjoyed the article. This is the type of content that we want to bring you. It's extra. You certainly don't need to subscribe, but it is a way to support the show, ensure that we can pay our hosting bills, keep the lights on, put some beer money in Silver King's pocket, Vintage's pocket, and you get extra content too. That's the entire point. If you all want more of those op-ed digest type of articles as opposed to news and analysis, which is normally what we do, just let us know. I have no problem making that change. But in order to let us know, you first need to subscribe at buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. We would greatly appreciate your support. Okay, no more delaying. I know you're all waiting for it. Let's talk Raw, SmackDown, everything that happened this week in WWE. And let's kick it off, as we always do, by sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
Ironically, this may be the longest main event in the history of this podcast, at least in terms of the amount of segments that we will be covering within this segment. So let's go ahead and get into it. Nick Aldis approached Cody Rhodes as he walked into SmackDown, saying Gunther will inform them of his stipulation later in the show. The Usos then stared down and dapped up Rhodes, with Jey warning that he would win King of the Ring and go after the title at SummerSlam. Cody said Jey deserved the opportunity, but he hoped it was Jey making his own decision and not Roman Reigns doing it for him. Jimmy later gassed up Jey before Jacob Fatu came through, saying Roman sent him to the show. Jimmy said the play was already called for Jey to go at the match on his own, so Jacob informed them he was there to speak with Solo Sikoa. Gunther backstage told Aldis he clearly cannot trust his vetting of the officials, so he desires a special guest referee of his choosing for the match. Aldis agreed with Gunther, promising to reveal his choice by the end of the night. Excuse me, but how can Gunther figure this out after 2 weeks, yet Becky Lynch has been dealing with Crooked Car for 5 months longer, and she can't choose her own referees? The greatest of all time. It's not just me saying that. It's not just Vintage saying that. It's the Getting Over Wrestling podcast saying that. That's the definition of holding the man down. Shame on WWE. I digress. Finn Balor backstage expressed his excitement to join SmackDown before R-Truth welcomed him to the show, again insisting that Judgment Day is back together, considering Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are also on Friday nights. Now he just needs to figure out how to get Royce Keys involved with them. Priest confronted and gave Balor the stink eye, with Truth telling Finn he loves him. Damian again reiterated to him that they only need each other and they don't need anyone else. Truth was the best that he's been in weeks during this segment. It's quite funny that the excommunicated Judgment Day members are all on SmackDown together as babyfaces, yet none of them other than Priest and Ripley have relationships. As for what happened beforehand, the idea of Reigns sending Fatu and giving him his own responsibilities like he used to with Sikoa behind the Usos' back, that was interesting. Remember, Roman told Jey he was in charge of Jacob, and he seemed to indicate Jey was the right-hand man again, and yet he's giving Jacob his own tasks, just like he did Solo, going around Jey and clearly pissing Jey off. So I found that to be interesting and vintage. That certainly played out over the duration of SmackDown and Raw on Monday night.
Yes, I don't know how much to say because there's so many things still to come, but a very convoluted start, like you said. And I think maybe we let it play out a little bit here before I start to give deeper thoughts.
Yeah, there were so many segments involving the Bloodline on both of these shows that, like, I just wanted to jam stuff together. Otherwise, we'd be picking apart little tiny, 30-second things all episode.
I will say Balor, Priest, and R-Truth backstage was awesome, hilarious. It warmed my heart to see them again. And it was just a reminder of how peak Judgment Day really was awesome. Mm-hmm. And I hope those guys will all kind of be thought of together, in history, and maybe come back together at some points down the road and continue to build on that legacy that they built, which was very strong. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the continuity. I enjoyed R-Truth trying to put it all together again, because maybe they do team up for something in some stage at some point, and it's good to have that connective tissue.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to see them reform Judgment Day, but if in December, when just stuff is happening and they're kind of kicking the can down the road until the new year starts so they can build for the Royal Rumble, if in December there's some feud where Priest and Truth need help and Balor runs out and there's a woman involved and Ripley runs out and you wind up doing an 8-person tag and all of them are together, that'd be fun. And I think we're all down to see that.
Yeah, it's like the period. It's like the periodic Rhea Priest thing. They're on and off. Sometimes they'll be involved together or not. I like that. It makes the whole thing feel connected and alive.
Especially since all of them basically one after another in some way got excommunicated out of Judgment Day. So they're kind of the cast-offs, even though they're the strongest ones that were ever in the faction. So it's kind of interesting that way as well. Sami Zayn backstage on SmackDown again ranted to Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae while wearing a new Last Real Good Guy shirt. This simultaneously looked like a Kevin Owens shirt and a heel John Cena shirt, which I thought was pretty interesting. Candice tried to use Sami's words as motivation for Johnny, who remained catatonic, but Sami thought that they were for him, and he thanked Johnny with Candice throwing her hands in the air because no one's paying attention to her. Again, I love the interactions between these three, but we got to get moving with Gargano doing something soon. Zayn did not get as strong of an entrance reaction back in the United States, which he noted on the mic, though a portion did chant for him. Sami asked Cody to the ring so they could clear the air once and for all. Zayn was bothered that Rhodes did his whole shtick, saying he's been paying the price for helping Cody over the last few months. Chance interrupted him. Sami went over what happened the last 2 weeks, wanting confirmation that Cody is not purposefully coming after him. Rhodes said, "Bro, this is pro wrestling. Shit happens.
And you know this, man."
And he reminded Sami that he helped to finish his story, to which Zayn almost bragged that he helped him despite being the person who was victimized the most by the Bloodline. He also pointed out that the friends who helped Cody 2 years ago are no longer on his side. Rhodes and Zayn then got heated, with Cody giving him pure honesty. Fans are booing Sami because lately he's a desperate whiner and a complainer who has largely been shitty and will never be WWE champion because he can't beat Cody. Zayn smacked him across the face.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
Then he profusely apologized and forced a handshake. Despite that, Rhodes smacked him across the face.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
And he got even, and he hoped that they were good, but Sami left the ring. And it was in this moment I was hoping Gunther's music was going to hit. Instead, Zayn grabbed and then threw down a steel chair before storming out of the arena. As frustrating as Sami's storytelling may have been over the last few months, it is coming to a head here in a real unique, intriguing way. There have certainly been occasions where characters have been presented as true heels, but baby faces in their own mind. Drew McIntyre is a good example. It's rare to see someone who is basically a double tweener, if that makes sense. Like he thinks he's good, but he's actually bad. He tries to act good, but thinks everything he's doing is wrong, even though he doesn't mean it that way. What truly sells it is that Zayn is fully committed to this gimmick. And on Friday, Rhodes basically not letting him off the hook, trying to avoid taking responsibility for his actions, that put him in a position that he couldn't get out of. While the crowd constantly cheers Cody, even in pro wrestling, telling your friend they will never reach their goal because they can never beat you, it's not exactly being a friend. He completely deserved Cody did that smack in the face. Rhodes is showing a bit more edge than usual, and the only reason it's not receiving mixed reactions is because Zayn has the crowd so strongly against him. This is not going to win any segment or promo of the year awards, but it was certainly the best moment from this feud involving either guy or Gunther since all of them have been feuding with one another in some way. And as I opined last week, it seemed to be building toward a SummerSlam triple threat where the title might possibly change hands. So this was super successful. And I said this last week as well, Vintage, you didn't get an opportunity to say it or to respond to it. I can't believe I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, this was my favorite bit of the whole weekend of shows across Friday and Monday.
Wow, interesting.
The conversation between Sami and Cody, because it felt so real. Like it felt like a real conversation friends would have when one friend is jealous of another friend. And you just got to say, dude, like you're whining too much. I'm sick of your shit. Like you need a good friend to call you out sometimes on that. And to say like, you want me to be like when Cody snapped and he's like, you want me to be honest? They're booing you. They're booing you because the stuff you're doing, you suck. You're whining. This isn't the same Sami they liked. I have this, you never will. He kind of goes too far there. That was a great, just like conversation that friends having a fight will do. It felt real. Like that is, I've come around on this because, right, it was like for like a month or so, you're like, why is Sami and Cody still just like doing this? Cody's got more important things to deal with. Do they just have no idea what to do with Sami?
Right.
Like whatever.
Dragging,
but they finally, it was just kind of dragging, but they brought it back around into this where I'm still really interested in Sami. The last real good guy bit shirt, like that's it. That's what Sami Zayn is. That's his character. Like we've been trying to like, what exactly is Sami Zayn trying to do here? He thinks he's a good guy and he's not being a pure heel and just doing heel things like Kevin Owens would and say, I'm in the right or something like that. He's like, he is kind of in between, but because he's not on one side or another, everybody's sick of him saying, make up your mind to be the good guy or the bad guy that you want to be. Like, so like, sometimes promos in WWE, everybody kind of talks around each other and they don't just like say the thing. And in this segment, they said the thing that has like been the feeling that has been around. And so I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah, they did knock this out of the park and it paid off a lot of our, wondering of when is this going to get going? Like, when is it going to reach a crescendo? Where are they going with this?
Like, we don't, like, Sami Zayn, we're like, okay, maybe the idea is he gets low and then come around to the Saudi WrestleMania, he's on top, but he's going to have to go on a journey. And instead, he hasn't gone on a journey. He's just stayed where he was at with Cody and being around the title. And it's because it's kind of gone different maybe than our expectations. Now it's actually interesting. Yeah. I don't think Sami's going to win the title right now or anytime soon. But the fact that he's just going on a different type of journey here is interesting.
Yeah, people need to remember, this is not just about wrestling, this is in life. You don't want to exist in a world where seeking perfection is the enemy of good. Something can be good, but not perfect. WWE can give, just as an example, Sami Zayn the WWE Championship as a heel. And okay, they don't get that moment that we all saw they could have gotten had they changed the title, which they never would have done, before WrestleMania 39 in Montreal at Elimination Chamber. They never were going to change the title on that show. If they had, it would have been an all-time title change moment, and Sami would have been like the most over babyface the company had in a long time, despite the fact that Cody was waiting in the wings and, of course, won the title 1 year later. But you can't let perfection be the enemy of good. If Sami does win the WWE Championship at some point between now and a WrestleMania, so WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia next April, if he wins the title now as a heel, that doesn't mean that him winning the title, let's say, as a babyface at that show is anything less than it might be based on the way it's booked. If he wins the title as a heel, but never wins it as a babyface, you can be disappointed. Hey, they didn't do this thing that I wanted. It doesn't mean that the other decision they made is inherently bad. And that is something that we try to fight against on the show. And that is why we grade stuff and we discuss, booking decisions, not in terms of, well, it's not what we wanted. It's not what we expected was going to happen. Therefore, it's bad. It's just in a vacuum, is this good or bad? Did they make the right decision? Did they make the wrong decision? And then we provide context. Here's how it could have been better in our eyes. And I think when you look at the booking of Sami right now, it's a paradigm of this. Did he do the hit rock bottom and then climb his way all the way back up into being a babyface that we thought was going to happen between one WrestleMania and another? No, they're not doing that. They're doing something else. For a while, we looked at it and we said critically, it's not really going that well. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. He's not really getting great reactions from the fans one way or another. Guess what? Now he's getting monster reactions from the fans. He's a divisive character purposefully. He's given Cody an edge, and he's added an element to what other people were calling a relatively boring Cody and Gunther feud. And it's working.
Yeah. Yep.
So don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Let me digress and let me continue. Fatu confronted Sikoa backstage on SmackDown with a message from Reigns. Solo, you need to rejoin the Bloodline after all of these years away. Sikoa told Fatu it's not his home, but a doghouse, with Jacob now serving as Roman's lapdog. He criticized Fatu for no longer being a killer or the Samoan werewolf, but rather an errand boy for the tribal chief. He got insanely angry, saying that Reigns has done nothing but embarrass and humiliate Fatu, which is not how one treats a person they love. Sikoa refused to go back, and he told Reigns to go to hell. Jacob said he hears Solo, but he made his decision. He will stand on business, even if that means coming for him eventually. Sikoa said Reigns can come get him if he really wants him back. This was a shockingly excellent segment. While I am incredibly uninterested in the Bloodline story from the standpoint of crossing multiple brands, it's fair for us to assume Jacob is now on Raw full time. It was tough to
I don't know. We don't know.
It was tough to deny the logic, though, of this conversation and how well it advanced both the storyline and Fatu's character. Beyond that, it put Solo back into a position where he was able to puff out his chest and show a serious personality, as opposed to this less believable, less interesting stuff he's doing with MFT. There was a slight groan for me when they appeared on screen together, but by the time it was over, I had nothing but positive feelings about the execution of this, and little did I know at the time, it directly played into what they did Monday night on Raw.
I'm the same with you. At the beginning, I was like, why are we still doing this? What are we going for? But they had a good, again, kind of like real conversation between the two of them. And in talking about the Bloodline historically in the past, I think we do kind of downplay the role Solo had.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the reason Roman won at WrestleMania 39. He beat John Cena. He's the reason Drew McIntyre lost a Clash in the Castle. Like, he was a big part of that. It wasn't just the Usos and Sami. So that acknowledgement in a way, like you said, that could allow Solo to puff out his chest, as opposed to what Roman said a few weeks ago, which was he couldn't get a cup of coffee from whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that. So I liked this way of building up Solo in a way that would then come into play later.
And just juxtaposing him with the enforcer who was previously in the role he's now taking. When Jacob joined WWE specifically to combat Roman, now he's doing what Solo was doing before. Like, it's such a great parallel, and you have to address that. If they didn't address it, we would say, hey, why aren't they addressing it? We probably would have, and that's why I'm glad they did it. Gunther later found Aldis backstage, saying he thought hard about his special guest referee, and while he wants someone with a ton of experience and supreme knowledge of the rulebook to be in that position, he also needed to consider the human factor. As such, he chose someone with the heart in the right place, who's the last real good guy in WWE, Sami Zayn. Rhodes later argued with Aldis about the move, saying Zayn is an emotional wreck who is all over the place. Sami interrupted, so Cody reminded that they each tagged the other and they should be even. Zayn threw Rhodes' words back in his face, saying he's the one who's all over the place. As a segment and an explanation of intent, the Gunther part was actually great. Logically, I found it flawed. Gunther can pick a stipulation for a title match, and the ring general chooses a guy who in their last interaction fought against him. Like, trust me, it's far more interesting than choosing a veteran like Charles Robinson as a referee or picking a submission match or something like that. But at the same time, logically, it's a bit flawed, even if it does get us to the triple threat that I expected starting last week at Night of Champions. The Cody-Sami interaction on the back end, that was a nice way to put a bow on the entire deal. Logic would dictate that Sami inadvertently cost Cody the title next week in Kansas City. Again, as I said last week, similar to what happened with McIntyre in 3 Stages of Hell. But it is for that reason and the likelihood of a triple threat at Blood Money in the Sand where it probably makes more sense for Zayn to cost Gunther, protecting him in the loss, creating a reason for the 3-way, and then potentially changing the title overseas later this month.
Yeah, I'm interested in the match and the concept. Like the end result, Cody, Gunther, Sami, guest referee, like it's interesting. Okay. The process of getting there made no sense whatsoever. Like, why does Gunther get to pick the stipulation? Because the referee made the mistake in the last match? Like, since when has that been enough to give someone that right, essentially? That's just it's a lot. And like I was like, okay, but then he's also talking about the lawyers again. I don't know who the lawyers are. Ultimately, we got to a spot where I'm interested. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a title change here. I'm going to think, because it's on SmackDown next week, Cody wins, but it's not the end of it. And we go from there. Like Sami, right now, coming out of the SmackDown, Sami's the bad guy. But I think coming out of the next one, something will happen where Sami can say he's the good guy, but people still boo him or something like that. So that's my guess for how that plays out. I don't think we get to title change there, but we might later, perhaps in some 3-way where Gunther pins Sami,
That's exactly what somewhere. I'm thinking. You do that at Night of Champions. You allow Cody to feud with Sami separately for a while. Gunther goes off and has a title run, and then you circle back around because obviously they always want Cody to be champion. So that's going to happen at some point. But that's what I would do. And that's what this indicated to me. We'll find out this coming Friday on SmackDown. Before a King of the Ring quarterfinal match, Sikoa interrupted a Royce Keys interview, pissing him off, but explaining he wanted to have Royce's back because the Bloodline, including his friend Jacob, was in attendance to ensure Jey advanced. Solo told him he does not even need his allegiance. He just doesn't want to see him victimized by Roman like he has been. LA Knight later agreed with Sikoa's contention that the Bloodline was there to get involved and help Jey. This was separate from anything involving Royce, but it hit the same. And I found it pretty interesting because Sikoa went 2 for 2 in these segments. Again, entirely logical, actually convincing. If you were Keys, hell, if you're a fan watching at home, how could you disagree with the pictures that Solo and LA painted of the match circumstances? I'm not sure it was intentional, but I found it pretty cool that a face and a heel were unknowingly aligned on a topic like this.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is Solo's acting kind of like a babyface in this situation on this show. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it created the Solo Royce thing. Like, I don't think they've done a quite good enough job of establishing that relationship. They just have kind of said, they're both from San Francisco, I think, the Bay Area.
So what they did, real quick to interrupt, what they did was they did establish that Royce and Jacob have a full relationship from the independents and growing up in the Bay Area. Totally. What they have then done is extrapolate that to mean that Royce knows the entire Bloodline.
Yeah. So it's been a little like, but your point about both of them, it made sense. The idea that everybody, even if you're a heel, you don't like the Bloodline, that's important. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to go all Bloodline, which they seem to be doing, and I have criticisms of that, which we'll get to later, you got to have it on the other side, and they're trying to do that.
And briefly later before the match, Balor was shown getting confronted by Tama Tonga, who welcomed him to SmackDown, just given their extended history in Bullet Club and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that brought us to the quarterfinal. Jey, Keys, Knight, and Balor. LA mocked Jey by trying an encore of his theme before the bell. I'm glad someone finally did that. Keys caught Balor on the ropes with what is being called Top Choice Royce, a swinging avalanche world's strongest slam. Terrible, terrible name for a move, but at least got a damn name. Jimmy made his way to ringside to stare down Royce after he threw Jey, into the steel steps. So Solo came out for a face-off. Knight and Balor interestingly combined with Oos for a Shield Steyer powerbomb of Keys through the announce table. The match moved into signature exchange from there. Knight box jumped the top rope, only for Balor to throw him down onto Jey and follow with a coup de grace. He got pulled out of the ring by Royce and thrown into Jimmy and over the barricade. Solo cheered his success, only for Knight to dropkick Keys into Sikoa ringside. LA then avoided a superkick, countering Jey into a modified burning hammer and hitting an inverted DDT on Royce. Knight hit the jump up elbow drop, but Sikoa timed an interference Samoan spike perfectly LA8, what is now called the Ultimate Spinebuster, another weak as hell name for a great move. Jey flew in with an Uso splash to break the fall and pin LA, advancing into the semifinals. I forgot to mention, there was also a Night Keys flip over neckbreaker botch in the match. That was really the lone flaw in what was otherwise extremely solid from 4 baby faces. The biggest issue is that Jey was by far, the least interesting winner of the 4 men. Balor badly needed this, having just debuted on SmackDown. It could have relaunched him as a legitimate contender.
No.
Keys has been pushed well, but now he has lost his 2 biggest matches. He remains firmly in this MFT vortex.
No.
Fans are frothing at the mouth again for a night push. The Usos could have even cost him later in the tournament.
No.
Jey just wins. Now, at least he pinned Knight, who took 2.5 finishers. That should advance the feud. And Jimmy did not get involved, so Jey won clean, counter to what Sikoa and Knight claimed, keeping the Bloodline seemingly babyface, at least from the standpoint that they aren't interfering in matches. Those were notable positives. Still, it could not have been more disheartening for me as a viewer. For Jey, whose stock as a singles performer has purposefully fallen based on booking, to be right back in an important tournament over 3, not 1, but 3 guys who truly could have used a push in the King of the Ring. There was a great camera shot of Jey with the crown at the end of the show. The match was fun, but yeah, I was dismayed at the winner and the potential for him to possibly prevail out of this tournament.
Yeah, the least interesting winner by far. And this is when I started to groan about Bloodline stuff and where we're at. And yes, LA Knight got pinned, but they didn't take the win from him. They took the win from Royce Keys. Like, I would have preferred
True.
LA Knight's got the pin. Jey breaks it up, pins LA Knight, and steals it from him. Because LA Knight has no leg to stand on now anymore, because he was just about getting pinned by 2 different guys, which really sucks because he's probably the most over of the 4 guys at the moment. And he was the one who started off the King of the Ring, and instead just we're going to Jey, and now we're into semifinals, which we'll get into later. But it's like, man, like it feels like we're just wasting a spot here for the idea that Jey might win and take the belts from Cody. And it's just like, I don't know what we're doing with the Bloodline here. Like, what is the point of this? Roman is not actually feuding with anybody right now, right? Like, he's just standing in the back while everybody else is doing stuff.
Yeah. Roman finished his feud with Jacob, and he has Knight and Rollins both at his throat, but they're separated from him as of right now.
And again, Roman is not acknowledging them. It looks poor, I think, for LA Knight to week after week after week say, I'm mad at Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns not say a word about LA Knight, and then LA Knight go and lose this way in the quarterfinals. Like, just, he's got no leg to stand on. Nothing he can say is like, oh yeah, he's got a point. And I hate that. And then we did that to give a spot to Jey Uso, who, like, is just a very just basic storyline type of thing here. Don't love this. Now, if you want to say based on who he's going to fight in the semifinal, we'll get into that later. But when this happened, I was like, man, this is by far the least interesting winner.
Out of all the men's singles in the company who we were just talking about, there's a lot of people in the mid-card, the upper mid-card, a lot of young guys who we want to see pushed. And again, 3 of the 4 quarterfinalists are young dudes: Dominic Mysterio, Oba Femi, and Javon Evans. Like, that's positive booking. But for the 4, it's tough to like say, well, 3 out of 4 are great, but we don't like the 4th one, so therefore it's bad. But the 4th one is now the one who's probably favored to win the entire tournament. And that's such a wrong decision, potentially, that it's that person. We'll talk about that more a little bit later, that it affects the positivity for the other 75% of people who are in the semifinals.
Look, Javon Evans and Dominic Mysterio are not going to SummerSlam to fight for the
can't imagine. I can't imagine they are.
We do. It's just, now they could win and make the final because of whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that's why Jey suddenly, because it's either Jey or Oba's going to win. And that's a tough feeling going into the semifinals.
Yes, it completely is. So that was everything that happened on SmackDown. Let's now move over to the continuation of pretty much all of this on Raw. Reigns and the Usos dapped up in the parking lot when arriving at Raw, with Fatu waiting for them, having already been at the arena. Roman finally spoke 10 minutes into the show. He put over Jey's victory. He told Baltimore to acknowledge the future King of the Ring. Then he put over Jimmy and told fans to acknowledge him as the backbone of the bloodline. On its own, the crowd loudly chanted Fatu, but Jey interrupted. He ran Jacob down, saying he needed to acknowledge all of them, not just Roman. Reigns questioned Fatu's problem with the Usos. Rather than provide an explanation, he just said, well, I only acknowledge the OTC. After spending the whole segment putting over his family as a babyface, Roman said he liked that Jacob was not a yes man, and he yelled for some dude to open a case, revealing an earth-toned Ula Fala necklace. He told the story of the bloodline, saying it's always been around WWE, from the Wild Samoans to Yokozuna, Rikishi, Umaga, to all of their children in the future. Reigns told Fatu, you are no longer an outsider, you're an insider, you're officially part of the bloodline, and he bestowed the necklace upon him. Jey was frothing at the mouth. Initially, he refused to put the one in the sky. Jimmy was a bit confused, but they ultimately did, as Jey gave Jacob a stink eye, and the segment seemingly ended. We'll put a pin in it right here. This was basically a 3-part segment, all in one, the last of which we'll discuss in a moment. The first appeared to showcase Roman as a babyface tribal chief who had turned a corner, and he was acknowledging his family like he never had before. That change in appreciation and acknowledgement, it played into the concept that Reigns is a different dude, even if he never atoned for his sins and mostly was acting the same way as he did when he was a heel. At least he learned to respect his cousins. And then the second half completely flipped it to tell us, nope, Roman is the same guy he's always been. Sure, he no longer treats the Usos like trash, but he does not see them as equals, not even close. I believe Jey had a similar ceremony to this once, so the ceremony was not particularly special, but Reigns telling Fatu that he does not need to respect the Usos, it put him in a similar position to Sikoa back in the day. You only answer to me, not to them, and they have no additional agency that they thought they were gaining in this reformation of the bloodline, where you have to remember, after WrestleMania, Reigns basically said, hey, we're all equals now. I'm going to weigh your thoughts and your opinions pretty close to as much as mine, and I'll listen to some of you. And we even saw that play out on television where like Jimmy would suggest something and Roman would say, okay, yeah, let's do it your way. So that was an intriguing twist on the relationship, certainly more interesting than the alternative. But at the same time, I don't believe most of us watching the show are truly up for another dominant, enforced reign of bloodline wrecking shop across at least one brand, if not both brands of WWE. And at the end of this part of the segment, that's what this indicated it was going to be.
Specifically because Roman addressed it. Like, that's what he said. He said, people are mad about the bloodline running things. That is a tacit acknowledgement that people online are complaining that we're just doing the bloodline again. And he turned that around into basically a heel promo, like you said, about the bloodline always running things and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what the point of this is. I don't know what the point of the current bloodline is, because previously there were reasons for it. It was Roman's first heel run. Then it was him and Jey had a story. Then it was about the Usos submitting to him. It was about them getting the tag titles and going on a record long run. It was about Sami going back and forth on it. It was about the cheating to help Roman win and hold the title for 1,000 days. Also, Cody could eventually take him down and create a big moment. I don't know what we're doing here. Like when we came out of WrestleMania and it looked like they were doing bloodline because they went to Jacob, we said, okay, maybe this is like a month or two type of thing. It makes sense to do it out of Mania, but we'll come back. We'll see if they're still doing this in a couple months. And now we're here and we're saying, well, it's because of King of the Ring. Like, that's the reason why it's on both brands and this and that. And then suddenly we're going to be at SummerSlam. And it's like we'll have done half a year of bloodline without even realizing it. And just not knowing where this is going. It's like Roman is just kind of there dealing with family stuff. It's not interesting anymore. We did this a couple of years ago. The inner working drama of the bloodline is just not interesting television anymore. They did it once, they did it twice when they made a second bloodline. And so it's just like, what they did here was just like, we've seen this before. It's not that interesting. And I'm starting to get tired of it.
So I think there's two different points of conversation here. First of all, just to clarify, between WrestleMania and SummerSlam was like 3.5, 4 months. So it's not half the year, but there's no indication that this is going to end at SummerSlam, right? Clearly,
but
this
the Usos have been with Roman since before WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying they reformed the Bloodline after he won the title at WrestleMania on the Raw after WrestleMania. That's when it was official, and they moved forward. So I'm just saying it's been about 4 months, and but it's not going to end after 4 months. We know that. But there's two parts to the conversation that you brought up. The first is the generality of getting back into the Bloodline vortex, the inner workings of the family, the storytelling, the whole 9 yards, and seemingly running a gimmick that is not dissimilar from what was done before with Jacob in the place of Solo, except then we always knew there was something lingering on the back end with Solo. Here, now, it seems like Jacob is fully bought in. And I agree with everything that you said, that it just doesn't feel fresh at all, and therefore it's extremely difficult for you to gain my interest, with it. Because Reigns never had that moment of contrition. He never atoned for his sins. So it's not like he's going back on that after 2 years of being a true babyface. He just never changed that much. We haven't seen a legitimate adjustment in his character. So in all those ways, I agree with you. On the other hand, what happened coming out of this, which we're going to mention in a moment, through the end of the show, it provided me with a level of relief, believing this is not a 4-year, 1 year. I don't even know if it's going to be a 9-month storyline. This might be something that blows up with the quickness. And if that happens and it's a vehicle to get them to a short-term goal, then I'm not going to have as much of a problem with it. The Usos tried to go back. They believed they could make it work. Clearly they cannot. Reigns has not changed. And maybe we do get the storyline that concludes this portion of the Bloodline that we hoped we would have gotten when Reigns came back and they all briefly aligned for War Games and all that other bullshit. So do you see that potential forest through the trees?
Potentially. It just feels like it won't happen until
2028
after SummerSlam. Like it might. It has to, because what is the obvious thing? Like when Roman first went on his thing the first time around, we didn't know what the end point was. Cody wasn't in the company. Like that wasn't the original plan.
Right.
But by the time we got on the road to WrestleMania 39, that became the plan.
Originally with Reigns, I don't know this. I assume Jey would have beat him for the title.
Maybe.
That's what
we thought Drew would take it at Clash at the Castle. There were times we thought other people might.
But I'm saying
maybe.
I'm saying the ultimate end goal was, you have to remember how it started, where he literally submitted Jey and made Jimmy, do the whole, grovel to not hurt his brother. And they both joined reluctantly. And then Jey had issues while being under his thumb. That was the original.
No, it's fine. But like,
what I think. Yeah.
What is the end point here is what? Jey beats Roman? Like, I guess that's,
I don't know. Is
something. It? But Jey's already won a world title. I mean, maybe it's Jacob Fatu, but that feels kind of quick based on what just happened. I don't know. There's not but I agree with you. Yes, we're going long. It does feel like it's probably not going to go on forever. Which
the problem is Jacob. He's lost to this guy twice clean.
Right. Like you can't just. My thought is maybe someone like Jacob wins the Money in the Bank and then cashes in on a Roman at some point.
And it's a huge moment, unexpected after months of turmoil internally. Maybe that's what it is. But you're right. We have gone long. We have a lot more still from Raw to talk about before we even get to the next segment. So before they all left the ringside area, this is still the same segment in which they all did this in the ring, and Reigns gave the necklace to Fatu. WWE showed Eric Andre, the comedian, that he was sitting in the best seat in the house, the corner of the entrance ramp, with commentary explaining that he's a co-star with Reigns in Street Fighter and with John Cena in a new Netflix film, Little Brother. Roman fully dapped him up. Jey refused. Jimmy dapped him up. And then when Jacob approached, Andre first touched his shoulder to get his attention, but then he touched the necklace. And he set off Fatu like it was a hair trigger. Jacob dragged him over the barricade, blasted his ass. He was prepared to hit an Uso splash, but Reigns ran onto the ring apron and stopped him, as agents and Adam Pearce all ran down to get in the way. But Roman did not actually stop Jacob. Rather, he directed him, go ahead, complete the splash. Then Reigns told him it was over, but he again changed his mind, allowing Fatu to hit a second Uso splash for good measure. And I was wondering, why isn't he hitting the moonsault? Because that's his move. Uso splashes Usos, but I digress. As the Bloodline walked off, Roman sent a warning shot to the locker room through the camera, basically not to F with them. Eric Andre sold this all incredibly well. And as always, you got to give credit to any celebrity who's willing to get involved, take a few moves, and sell for the wrestlers, which he did. Beyond the celebrity element, which was for shock value more than anything in promotion, the goal here was to show Reigns total control over Fatu and flex the Bloodline's muscles overall. As we said 2 weeks ago, from a technical standpoint, they are stronger than they have ever been as a faction, with an enforcer who is even more dominant and explosive than Sikoa, who previously held that role. While he still got cheered, this basically, and we've had this argument before, Vintage, this to me served as an official heel turn for Roman. He ensured the camera saw his facial expressions change. He recognizing that he's once again all powerful with this guy who's willing to do what it says and go to war for him at the drop of a hat. Juxtaposing that with Jey showing jealousy and legitimately feeling like a repeat of what happened before. For that reason, the booking is concerning. But in terms of them developing it and moving it forward, it was ultimately immensely successful. Reigns basically acted like a mob boss who saw his family crumble and just came to the realization, holy shit, not only are we a family again, but I have muscle and weapons and all this shit that I didn't even have the first time. That's what I took out of this segment.
It was ultimately interesting, yes, because we made it clear, like, he is Roman's attack dog. He can determine what he does. But to get the celebrity, like, here's the celebrity, he's in the movie, and immediately he gets attacked, I was like, we're not even, like, pretending this is just, a promotive entire segment. I rolled my eyes at it at the beginning. We did get something out of it, so it wasn't a complete waste of time. I'm assuming Jacob did a splash instead of a moonsault because it's a lot safer. And you're up against somebody who's an actor, not a wrestler. You don't want to over rotate or have a knee hit somebody. I'm guessing the splash is just a safer way to do it.
Great call. Yeah.
And so like, it was something, like it wasn't nothing, but it was just like, okay. And I'm done saying that was a heel turn for somebody in the Bloodline, because we've said this like 3 times over the last 2 months and it's never been clear. And I don't think it's going to be clear either, because they know people want to cheer Roman. And it's not going to turn into booze like it used to. So I don't know if they can fully do it. I'm 0 predictions on my end on whether or not that was a turn.
Okay, fair. Knight sarcastically confronted Pierce backstage, given Jey wound up winning King of the Ring, suggesting Solo played a role in his defeat, and it was clear Bloodline intervention. Pierce tried to clarify that Sikoa was not helping Reigns, so Knight sarcastically pointed out that Pierce would know, considering he's been in bed with Roman of late. LA promised to address it the only way he knows how, which I assumed was in the middle of the ring. But then the Usos backstage confronted Reigns, with Jimmy calling out Roman for not living up to what he said previously, that Jacob is supposed to listen to Jey when he's not around. Reigns brushed that aside by noting that, hey, I decided to call an audible, and that's my prerogative. I'm the tribal chief. He said it's not fair for Jacob to feel like an outsider. They cannot be infighting again while everyone on the outside hates him and runs their mouths. Then Reigns questioned why no one had handled Knight, suggesting he sent Fatu to do it. Jey tried to step up. Jimmy decided he wanted to deal with it. While LA was reaching in a major way backstage, at least the way I saw it, it's not like the dude needs to act logically when he sees red every time any form of Bloodline gets involved in his business. I appreciated creative doubling back and having the Usos confront Reigns about completely altering the directive that he gave them just a couple of weeks earlier. He did need to explain himself for that, and the explanation was rather weak, because I want to. Didn't have much of a leg to stand on. The Usos certainly didn't buy it, and when you said a moment ago you're not going to necessarily put him in a heel or babyface camp based on the prior segment, this to me reinforced that this guy is a heel.
I mean, like, maybe, but like, Jay's kind of a heel. Jimmy's kind of a face. People want to cheer Roman. It's not exactly clear what the Bloodline is or what they want them to be. Like, I agree in this one moment, yes, but it's not like Jay's been the fan favorite, like at this moment, and suddenly it's another reason for fans to rally behind him. It's just drama for drama's sake. And that's why I'm just not as interested.
So Knight hit the ring shortly thereafter, receiving welcome home chants, even as he was laying in the middle of the ring, given that's how he ended SmackDown. I did not realize he was from Maryland, nor did I realize fans knew he was from Maryland to that degree. Did you know this?
Yes, because I wrote a story about him ahead of WrestleMania 40 and
shit.
talked about growing up in Maryland there. And he actually, right before WrestleMania 40, got the key to the city he's from. And I watched a video on it.
Do you think
Yes.
fans as a whole knew this and I just completely missed it?
No, but I'm glad the Baltimore fans did, because he's talked about that before, about how that was the arena for him coming up. That's meant a lot to him.
Okay.
So that was cool.
Yeah. I just completely over my head. I had no idea whatsoever. After waxing poetic about Baltimore, he spoke about not having the benefit of coming from a famous family like the Bloodline. He joked about Roman being so manipulative, he'll probably start scamming fans with an OTC meme coin, which I am shocked that happened on WWE TV. Hit a little close to home due to some other relationships they have. And then he reiterated his issues with what happened on Friday. Jimmy interrupted as expected, acknowledging that Knight has legit beef with the family, but trying to put all of that in the past, saying they've all changed and Solo has absolutely nothing to do with them. Knight asked if that meant he could take Sikoa out without any consequence. And Jimmy basically said, yeah, bro, go for it. None of us give a shit.
Thank you.
I kind of loved that. It was a perfect response. Out came Jey, looking all hard. Fans wanted an encore. He denied and he dropped LA's line on his own head. Jey reiterated that Solo is Solo, saying they had no reason to apologize to him. And he's only there to remind him that he's better than him and deserves to be acknowledged for that. Jey claimed he beat LA one-on-one, which did not happen. That was a four-way, but he did pin him, as we discussed. Knight feigned like he would acknowledge him, but obviously did not, telling Jey to kiss his ass. It got heated. Jimmy tried to mediate, but failed. LA tugged Jimmy aside, leading to a Jey attack and ultimately a Jimmy super kick. Jey then grabbed a steel chair, shoved his brother aside, tried to use it, but Knight took them both out with the quickness, only for Fatu to run down and flatten him with the Tongan death grip. Fans loudly chanted for Jacob upon arrival. However, they booed the Bloodline as they left because, well, Reigns and Fatu at least are heels now. The Usos then argued backstage with Jacob. He criticized them for not getting the job done, said he was forced to come out there and do what Roman wanted. For all the concerns about Knight not being pushed hard by WWE, and we've expressed some of those on this show, because he's yet to win the main title or have a really strong mid-card championship run, the dude continues to be a featured player in this company, now in the top angle, which he has been adjacent to dating back to before WrestleMania. Now, granted, he's working with the secondary talent and not Reigns directly, at least not yet.
Yep.
But still, his name was in Roman's mouth on Monday night. This segment did not go as I expected once Jey got out there. I thought LA was going to goad him into putting his semifinal spot on the line in a legitimate one-on-one match, because that's what he said. It would have been really odd to book like that in a tournament setting. But that's kind of where this seemed like the confrontation was going. At some point, Jey and Jimmy probably need to have a blow-up that does not result in a feud, but rather extended brotherly disagreement. Although, the way this is being booked, they might wind up getting on the same page against Roman and Jacob, which would be relatively unique. This was a far more successful segment than I believed it was going to be. It not only continued Knight and Jey as a long-term feud, it probably set up Knight and Fatu in the interim, possibly leading to Knight Reigns sooner than later. That's precisely why LA winning King of the Ring and fighting Roman at SummerSlam seemed like a legitimate possibility. Is it now going to be Jey winning? Everyone thinking he's going to choose Cody, but he actually picks Roman? That's my serious concern, given what I mentioned earlier about the semifinals. We'll come back to that. I enjoyed how the Usos set Knight straight from their perspective and how Knight refused to buy into anything they were selling, just considering his extended history with the Bloodline dating back to the original Tribal Chief run. I'm extremely curious to see where this goes with him. But as we've mentioned at different parts across SmackDown and Raw, even if we have some larger concerns with the overall storytelling, the direction it's going, as an individual segment, I thought they crushed this.
Like, that's where, like, the Bloodline story isn't great, but they still have LA Knight involved, even after losing, his quarterfinal in the way he did. He's back out there, got the home crowd behind him, like, signaling, like, this guy still feels like we want you to feel like a big deal. So that's a positive. He's still around it. They, like, them attacking LA Knight makes them the heels in that segment and got booed like they wanted. But, like, I don't know, if they're attacking Solo Sikoa or somebody else, it may be a different reaction. That's what's just like week to week, and depending on who they're in front of, it kind of changes. So maybe this is the start of some consistency of being a heel, because if you're going to do Jey Roman, which feels like there's a 50-50 chance of that happening, you're going to have to position Jey as the babyface. And if you're going to do that, you have to really make Roman the heel. They've only just now kind of started to do that. I'm not saying it's happened yet, but you can see where it might go from here.
You can. Reigns exited his locker room late in the show. I told you, there were so many Bloodline segments across SmackDown.
We're still in
and
the
Raw.
main event.
We're
folks.
still in the main event of this show. Like, this is insane. Reigns exited his locker room late in the show on Monday night. When Fatu approached him from behind, Jacob told Roman that he handled LA, but the Usos were bothered by it. Reigns said he figured they would be, but that's because they don't understand Fatu like he does. And as long as they have a mutual understanding, they are unstoppable. Roman said he needed one more thing, and Jacob agreed without knowing the details before Reigns whispered in his ear to end the segment. Jey then got a stage interview during the break, saying despite all the family drama, he's focused on winning King of the Ring, bouncing Javon Evans, and ultimately fighting Cody at SummerSlam. This was a solid way to wrap up the storyline for the night. Interesting hook for either Friday or next week. Probably Fatu taking out Sikoa on SmackDown, but we'll have to see. The first couple of months after WrestleMania, it's understandable. It was understandable for us to believe like the storytelling was elevating Jacob into a main event role and separating him from the family. What crystallized in this specific segment for me is how WWE actually did a great job creating an avenue for Jacob to align with Roman, which is clearly a more concentrated long-term plan. That's something Fatu never would have done unless he was defeated and humbled by Reigns directly. So going through that entire process to get to this point was absolutely planned. What matters now is WWE following through and proving that they're making the right booking decision and that they're going to do something that interests us. Whether that means a two-man power trip, Jacob serving as part of the reason for a Bloodline heel turn, the creation of a babyface faction to counter them, that remains to be seen. This all worked far better on Monday night than it had across a variety of other weeks, both before and after Fatu's change in alignment. And like I said, as a go-home, let's call it, like to the end of the show, Reigns and Fatu together here, looking dominant and powerful and not paying the Usos any mind, that was an important story point, no doubt about it.
Like, stuff happened. And so, like, I'll give credit to that. But it also made me a little bit more tired of the Bloodline thing. And to your point there to say, well, maybe Jacob aligns with Roman and whatever. Like, they also did that. Remember, we did the Usos against Roman solo, and Jey pinned Roman in Saudi Arabia or something like that. So that's, again, another thing they've already done. But, like, they're doing stuff. It's better than it was a week ago and whatever. I just hope we are now finally on the road to the end of whatever this is.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the end, buddy, unfortunately. So we had Oba Femi.
I heard the Bloodline has always dominated and run things. Maybe they will.
So Oba Femi, Dominic Mysterio, King of the Ring semifinal. This appropriately main evented Raw. JD McDonough was out with Dominic, who slid away ringside and stalled nearly 2 minutes before catching Oba with a dropkick that accomplished nothing. Femi literally caught him attempting a fly out ringside, throwing him over the announce table with ease. Oba then chased JD over the barricade as Dom snuck the bellhammer into his boot. Femi destroyed McDonough with a forearm on the ring apron. That gave Mysterio an opening for a low blow and a pair of 619s with the hammer, first to Oba's midsection and then to his head. He followed with a frog splash for a toss-off. Hey now, 1 count. Oba stopped the hammer swing and double chokeslammed the guys, leveling them with 9 running European uppercuts, and ultimately to Dom, a toss slam plus fall from grace to win in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. After the bell, Femi said he is 1 match away from earning his deserved crown. In addition to mentioning Jey and Javon, he again called out Brock Lesnar, questioning whether he's a man at all, considering he continues to duck him. Oba said he thought Brock would have shown up, but clearly Lesnar knows he is unconquerable. Excellent promo again from Femi, though spending 2/3 of his promo time on Lesnar when he's in the middle of a King of the Ring tournament, it is foreboding in the worst possible way.
It's really bothered me. It's happened several times now. He keeps calling out Brock when you're in a tournament to get a #1 contender spot at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Don't say it.
Yeah.
Because then if Brock does cost it to you, we will then be surprised.
We will not
be surprised.
Saying it the first time, I'm not overlooking you, but I am focused on this right now. I was okay with that. Saying it here bothered me. And again, it was the foreboding of it all, of like, oh my God, this is really not going to be booked well. This match was precisely what it needed to be. Not only Femi dominating and winning clean, but Judgment Day entering, having formulated a plan of attack to try and squeak out an upset that obviously was not going to happen. As I said last week, with Oba advancing in the tournament, The ideal scenario at this point, because he did not lose in the quarterfinal, which is what we expected, is that he gets fully crowned at SummerSlam with 2 matches in as many nights. He retires Brock on night 1, wins a world title on night 2, or vice versa, wins a world title on night 1, and then defends it against Brock in a retirement match on night 2. The problem is the other side of the bracket is so weak comparatively that it's just scary what the other booking option might be. Now, we will get to that in the next segment. This match, it accomplished its goal, but like I said, it created a grave concern.
Yeah, we didn't like Dom winning the quarterfinal. And once he did, we knew where this was going, what was going to happen. It did. It's like with King of the Ring in general, I think we were hoping, because there were so many more people in it, that it could really kind of stand alone as its own thing, feel like a big deal, lead us into SummerSlam. And instead, you've had interferences, you've got people ringside, it's just telling a lot of other stories where in some ways the tournament itself is almost secondary, like Oba Femi talking about Brock in this moment. And I think that has been a bit disappointing, where like the winners, like Oba, Javon, Dom, like these are younger people, like we said, but it ultimately wasn't to really do much for them as much as it is other stuff.
Could not agree more. I wouldn't mind if it didn't happen in a silo when it came to backstage. People were pulled out of feuds to compete in the tournament simultaneously, but impacting the tournament with other storylines, it's just really mucking up the entire deal, and it's creating a really huge concern for the show.
Which is why sometimes going back to making the whole tournament the show, or most of the tournament a single show, might be an easier way to accomplish this. I'm glad it's here. I'm glad they brought back King of the Ring. I'm glad it has stakes. It's just, it sometimes feels like we're speed running it a little bit.
I stand by what I said previously. If you don't want to do all the matches on one show, you do the semifinals, the 4 semifinal matches on SmackDown, and you do the 2 finals the next night, because it's obviously Friday and Saturday. You do those the next night at King of the Ring. It's King and Queen of the Ring, Night of Champions, whatever you want to call it. You do it that way. So that way you don't have to put, 2, 4, 6 matches on one show. That'd be the entire PLE. You don't have to do that. Instead, what you do is you separate it, but you still get it all in the same weekend. That's the way that should be booked. Seth Rollins got a promo package on Braun Breaker, angry over how the former protege turned his back and last week cost him King of the Ring, wasting 6 months of his career and taking his World Heavyweight Championship reign away from him without losing. Rollins was focused on righting his wrongs, challenging Breaker to a steel cage match at Night of Champions. Breaker later retorted, saying all Rollins has done is backstab people his entire career. Braun destroyed Seth's vision because he had deceived them. They were only going to serve his greatness, not develop into the next generation of dominant talent. Breaker warned about being locked in a cage with the dog, saying the dog always wins. He did some strange feints, like he had rabies or something while he was speaking. I really don't love that. I'm okay with like the dog gimmick in theory, but they got to make it way less corny because they're kind of losing it a little bit with Breaker. I was actually concerned Rollins was about to announce a Hell in a Cell match, both because I did not want that stipulation to get overused. The feud was not to the level, this one, of McIntyre CM Punk. And he also has a terrible history with Hell in a Cell matches at Blood Money in the Sand, given the Fiend match. So the steel cage was preferable, though I still would have wanted something a little bit more unique. Steel cage matches, they don't move me anymore. They're a dime a dozen. Same with street fights and stuff. They've been running street fight matches in Europe, but that's no more unique than a steel cage. Get creative. Come up with something different. This is the rubber match in this series, and the first 2 were great matches. So unless it's getting dragged out until SummerSlam, this might be the end. It's tough to believe they will end it on a steel cage stipulation. My guess is Bronson Reed returns, helps Breaker beat Rollins, and we get a 6-man with the Street Profits before a blow-off 4th match at SummerSlam. Solid promo.
And
go ahead.
And Bronson Reed does a splash off the top of the cage and breaks his leg again.
Well, hopefully not the second part of that, but that's also because he braced himself in a table. Don't forget last time. So there was that was a circumstantial injury. But
I'm just thinking about Bronson.
No, that's what went through my head. Again. No, that's what went through my head. This time it's probably going to be like pulls the door off its hinges and walks inside would be my guess. But that was the thought that went through my head. Like, this is creating an opening for Bronson Reed to return. Like, it makes so much sense. Solid promo. The booking didn't really move me. I wish it happened in the ring, but Rollins was not at the show. I'm guessing they got a week of vacation because there was 1 week in the United States before returning to Europe. So why have them travel to Raw and Baltimore in between those things? It all worked. It's fine. I'm excited for the match because the first two were great. I just want something a little different. That's all.
The second one, we talked about, it felt like the end in a way we didn't really expect with having Heyman and all that stuff that they did. But
right,
it makes sense to do it. It makes sense to do a third one. Do it at the pay-per-view that's not SummerSlam. Neither of these guys in King of the Ring anymore. So figure out what they do afterward.
Mm-hmm.
I do worry it's like a Bronson Reed comes back and then it's Seth Bronson at SummerSlam or something, and it just keeps going. I don't know. But yes, it does feel like that would be a good time to bring back Bronson Reed, who has been sorely missed. He was on fire when he left.
Javon was in the middle of cutting a King of the Ring promo in the third hour of Raw when suddenly, out of nowhere, Logan Paul's music hit, and he made a surprise return with his entire left arm braced due to his torn triceps. Austin Theory joined him in the ring as Paul put over Evans as a generational talent with unlimited potential. It was a Vision recruitment pitch, with Logan suggesting Javon needs someone to get his back. Evans obviously feigned a handshake, and then he declined, to which Paul countered that he didn't have a choice. Javon threatened to take Logan's other arm, so Austin got in his face, and Evans just decided, hey, we're going to wrestle. Screw it. So we had Evans against Theory out of nowhere. Fans sang the Joe Hendry song. Where the hell is Joe Hendry, by the way? And seemed largely uninterested in the first half of the match, though steam did pick up during the break. Javon hit a springboard lariat only to get caught with ataxia. Evans followed with a huge running dive into the timekeeper's area. After hitting red dot, he set up for the OG cutter, but Breaker ran into the picture blind and speared Javon down to hell out of midair. Montez Ford and a returning Angelo Dawkins saved, with Dawkins hitting the silencer on Theory and the guys combining to eliminate Breaker. Nearly the whole arena did their emote at the end. And I know that fans have done it before, but that's the most over the Street Profits have been in a long time. Not since this return, since their last two returns.
Since the TLC match.
Yeah, since maybe that, yeah.
That's when people were doing it, when they were doing it on the ladders.
Great call. This was random as hell. It was relatively unexplained. I figured it was booked. I was like, WWE probably needs a reason to insert Javon alongside Seth and Montez because maybe Angelo was legitimately injured or not available. No, Dawkins literally returned in the segment. So it was a bit of a head scratcher why this was booked in this way. Perhaps they could have just run Montez in Theory and done something similar. I did like that Logan returned to TV while injured. WWE is not purely about wrestling, so it sometimes does not make sense to me why people completely disappear when they can still contribute in other ways. He most certainly can do that on the mic. The absence of Paul Heyman continues to be notable too. In the end, my guess is that Javon was booked to take this punishment as an excuse to lose to Jey next week in the semifinal. For Monday Night in a Silo, this worked. It was a bit contrived, though. It certainly could have been booked better backstage, having them have this argument, then doing it in the ring. And Breaker's spear, I just want to clarify, it was effing exceptional. One of his best on the main roster, and that is saying something. Tremendous sell by Evans on the landing. They absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, it was a random way to kind of pretty much end the show. Because I remember I was looking at the clock and I was like, is this the end of the show? Is this the last segment?
It was the penultimate segment, I think, right?
Yeah, and it just kind of comes, Logan Paul comes out of nowhere, which makes sense because he was at the UFC event on Sunday in DC, so he was in the area. That makes sense looking back. And all right, Theory, Javon Evans, Profits make the save. Okay, sure. It's just kind of is what it is. It made me wonder, is it possible Logan Paul could be getting back quicker and we end up doing a 4-on-4 at SummerSlam? Profits, Rollins, Javon against the whole Vision. I don't know. My other thought was, I think Braun Breaker needs to stop wearing the singlet because he is jacked.
Yeah, I know.
I think he needs to wear the Scott Steiner shorts.
He does.
He would look so much more intimidating than the various singlets. That's my take.
They're trying to make him a mix of his father and uncle.
Right.
He's his uncle, man. Like, he just is. I'm not saying he should be exactly Scott Steiner, but he is so much closer to Scott than he is Rick. I mean, it's not even, it's like 80-20.
Did you see, by the way, Scott's actual son,
yes,
who also played college football at Jack State, is with the Saints now, and they posted a picture, I think, over the weekend of him donning a lot of the Scott Steiner stuff again with the belt, with the belt over the back of his jersey. So it cut out Wreck and it just said Steiner leaning into it. Really cool.
He wore the chainmail headdress deal. They've been doing it since the draft. The Saints are all in with this kid, by the way. And the kid has said also, he's like, if this doesn't work or whenever my NFL career is over, I will immediately be in WWE. Like, he's just stated it as a fact, which is interesting.
I think he was an NIL athlete too. I think WWE's had a relationship with him.
I would assume
on that front too.
Yeah.
But anyway, on Braun, like, he just looks incredible. And it's, again, what do we say about a lot of certain wrestlers? They look better in street clothes sometimes. And I think Braun is one of those guys where it's like, get him out of the singlet, get him in the shorts, the trunks, and it just looks better.
Yeah, no question. So the King of the Ring final, and we're finally concluding the main event here talking about this, okay? The King of the Ring
nothing
final.
Nothing left from the show, basically.
It's now set as Femi on one side against either Jey or Javon on the other. Now, if I had the book, Evans would beat Jey clean in a massive upset victory next week. If I'm forced to book like WWE, but I have the book, I'd have interference from LA, giving Javon the win over Jey, with Oba beating Javon in a legitimate match at Night of Champions, 7 to 8 minutes. Even though they've wrestled for longer in NXT, on the main roster, the booking of them has been different. The concern here, the real concern, is that Jey advances and wins King of the Ring. And the way that would happen, obviously, is Jey advancing to the final, and then Brock Lesnar interfering and costing Oba at Night of Champions. It's problematic, not only because it would be arguably the worst person winning King of the Ring out of two rosters of talents who badly need elevation, a boring rehash of a guy who may be over, yet he largely failed as a main eventer, but also because we would get interference at the end of a King of the Ring tournament, which is not something that should happen. These tournaments should be wrestled clean. Jey over Oba to win King of the Ring would be like when Goldberg beat The Fiend. Just straight up dog shit booking. Now look, I am not going to do what everyone else does and immediately assume the worst before I see the actual booking. But it is okay for us, Vintage, to be pessimistic based on historical trends and discuss what the booking we are watching appears to indicate. And I cannot imagine there's any way I will like it if they wind up doing Lesnar interference and Jey Uso beating Oba Femi.
Yeah, what if there's interference from LA Knight and interference from Brock in
consecutive matches? I'll lose my mind.
Yeah, or just, I mean, in the final, if Jey, it's Jey
gotcha.
Brock, if it's Jey Oba in the final, and they both interfere. This is my concern about King of the Ring. I don't even like the idea of Oba winning both, like King of the Ring and fighting Brock and doing both nights. Like, that's just, it's a lot. I guess I won't hate it compared to some of the others. Jey Roman, it's not interesting to me. Javon Oba would be a fun final to say, like, look, we're really pushing our new young guys here. There's a lot of options here, and most of them I don't love. And that is the position that WWE booked itself into.
We've talked previously about, LA Knight should do this, or Finn Balor should do this, or whatever the case might be, right? In this case, this specific King of the Ring tournament, and there were a lot of people who competed. What was it? 16 men were involved, and there were a lot of different options.
Mm-hmm.
Knight or Balor winning this, more so Knight than Balor, let me be clear. You guys know I love Finn irrationally, but more so Knight than Balor, seemed to be the most obvious winner to set up an obvious match that they had been building on television. I love the fact that Oba Femi, Dominic Mysterio, and Javon Evans are all semifinalists. That's great booking to elevate those guys and give them an opportunity. But when you now have Jey Uso in that other spot, and Oba advanced because Brock didn't already interfere, it just feels like WWE is setting itself up for a no-win situation. Unless Oba wins. If Oba wins, it's all fine. But if Javon advances and Oba beats Javon in the final, I love Javon Evans. It's not as much of an accomplishment, just considering the way Oba has been running through people. If Jey advances and Oba beats Jey, I'll give them that. He beats a former world heavyweight champion and wins King of the Ring, and there's no interference from Lesnar. Okay. But if you're looking at the other side, if Javon or Jey win, and I love Javon Evans, I cannot stress that enough, and we get Javon against like Cody in a SummerSlam title match, or Javon against Roman, you just know that's not going to happen. It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Right.
You know he's not going to win the title. And the other alternative is Jey over Oba, because Oba's the one who advanced. And any scenario with Jey going after Cody because Roman tells him to, or going after Roman was that not a rehash of a SummerSlam match 2 years ago for the title? I want to say
they did Jey Roman at the SummerSlam in Detroit, where I was at.
And it was bad, right? That match? It was terrible.
It was not great. It was the one where Jimmy returned, but it was a very slow match.
Right.
Weren't many false finishes.
Was that a
for
Bloodline
Jey.
rules match?
Yes, because a lot of it was outside the ring, and that's why
Right.
Jimmy could interfere, I think.
So then we're rehashing a SummerSlam main event for 2 years ago if he goes after Roman. I don't understand what they're doing here.
Which, by the way, didn't go well, but there was a lot more support behind Jey, I think, at that time.
Oh, more
Or at
so
least
then
in
than
the
now.
story.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Like, he's not in a position. We're not in a position where people are begging Jey to turn on Roman.
No, we're not.
Like that's my problem with the story, is that we're not there yet.
So how
Well,
do you
no.
feel about all this? Because I just laid it out for you.
I mean, I laid all my options. I think Oba winning is probably the one I don't like the least. I don't love
The one you
idea of
accept
him
the
doing
most,
two-
you're saying?
Yeah, I don't love the idea of him doing two big monster matches. That almost feels like just unfairly high expectations. But
It is.
given everything else, it's the one I think I would be the least upset about.
Yeah, like we discussed the potential for Oba to do double duty at SummerSlam and for WWE to just say, F it. We're crowning this guy. He is our monster. He is the next big thing. He's going to retire Brock. He's going to win a world championship. We're all in with this guy. And to some degree, if they go in that direction, credit where it's due for them striking while the iron is hot. You could argue Oba Femi will never be more over than he is right now. Not that he doesn't
Yeah.
have a long
That's
path
what I'm
or
saying.
career in WWE, but he is so hot that you can't get hotter. Like there's not another level to go.
Literally what I'm saying, because it's not like he could beat Brock and then say the next thing is the title. He will have gotten both. There's nowhere to go. I'll say, let's save some of this for next week,
Sure.
going into Night of Champions when we know the main event.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too, because otherwise we'll be saying the same
I'm simply saying we both agree. I believe, I don't want to totally put words in your mouth. We both agree it's A, the least bad option. B, it's also a huge move for WWE to potentially make. And it's why we initially did not think it was possible, because it seems to be too much too soon with nowhere else for him to go. If he won King of the Ring, then the next step is to win a championship. If he retires Brock Lesnar but doesn't win King of the Ring, it leaves the championship out there. So instead, they might be shoving it all together, which doesn't provide that opportunity for a next step, unless it is him winning both titles and becoming undisputed champion. That is definitely something we don't want to happen again.
It's bold and it's interesting. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Like they're doing something. They will get credit for that.
If they go in that direction. All right. We have more to discuss from Raw and SmackDown. I do need to get this in. I cannot forget, because whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or premium live events on Netflix, we're all in with NordVPN. It's easy to set up. It's a drastically better viewing experience each night. You get the same high quality streams. They become commercial-free shows. Sign up nordvpn.com/gettingover. You quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, France, Italy. You open Netflix. You watch whatever the hell you want. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk. Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. Improve your WWE viewing, save some money, browse safer online, get the best discount for the best VPN. nordvpn.com/gettingover. All right, Vintage, we are finally out of the main event. That was absolutely wild. All of that shit connected to each other. That's why it took so long. We are now going to break down everything else that happened across Raw and SmackDown, and we're going to do it as we always do, in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
We do not have to go speed round here, but we should also probably try to go speed round here. Rhea Ripley's knee injury is being evaluated. Her return is to be determined following medical check. That is according to commentary on SmackDown. I presume this is a real injury and not purely kayfabe, which, if true, effectively means that neither of WWE's primary women's champions will be defending their titles anytime soon, considering Liv Morgan has not been given a single opponent since she won the championship at WrestleMania. That's even beyond the conversation about Rhea having horrendous injury luck. She's always hurt, especially in key situations. Considering WWE runs matches so infrequently these days, that is certainly odd. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that at the top of this segment. We had Sol Ruca, Lyra Valkyria, Charlotte Flair, and Jade Cargill in a Queen of the Ring quarterfinal. Jade and her still unnamed crew, they talked shit backstage with Cargill promising Ripley she would get her lick back at SummerSlam after defending her crown. Girl, you've already lost to her twice. Maybe focus on someone and something else. Perhaps it was just me, but Valkyria stood out most among the four when entering the ring. I believe I had originally predicted Lyra to win this match. Flair's gear was all-time ugly. She got saved early by Alexa Bliss and Tiffany Stratton after Meechin and B-Fab attacked. Jade had a really nice roll-through counter of Sol's springboard crossbody. Lyra similarly had a nice suplex counter with a spike DDT on Jade, who based a Tower of Doom as Valkyria tagged Flair with an avalanche Samoan drop. Charlotte landed her dumb cartwheel lariat on Jade. Sol interrupted a figure four with a missile dropkick, then leapfrogged Cargill into the middle turnbuckle. Ruka took out her opponents with a springboard moonsault ringside, then hit a springboard frog splash on Valkyria inside. Sol delivered a double version of her idiotic springboard 360 clothesline before Charlotte took Jaded for a broken fall. Cargill's wig came off at some point during this sequence. You could see her short hair underneath. Soul Snatcher was landed perfectly on Jade. Lyra broke the fall by pulling Ruka out of the ring. Then she hit the peripetia on Cargill, only to take natural selection from Flair. But Valkyria grabbed her for a crucifix near fall. Sol interrupted a Nightwing attempt, ultimately allowing Charlotte to catch Lyra in the figure eight for a submission victory. So there were 3 tap outs across 2 shows, not 2. Excellent match with what I would say was the wrong winner. That's more personal preference than anything else, though. I'm more than ready for someone like Valkyria to get a larger opportunity. If Flair is not going to win this tournament, I don't really know that there was a need for her to advance, especially if the plan is for Charlotte and Jade to feud, which it seems like it's going to be at SummerSlam. Lyra was the MVP of this match. It's unfortunate that she lost twice in the same week. The crowd was going crazy for her. They wanted her to win with that crucifix. Charlotte still got wildly cheered for winning, though. Don't get it twisted. Outside of Jade losing her head literally and a couple of brief clunky spots, there was nothing to critique about this match. Flair does probably need to win the crown at some point before she retires. She's the queen. I doubt it's going to be this year. This got 18 minutes to open SmackDown, and the show was better for it. Continues a trend of matches getting shortchanged on Raw, but more than enough time on the B show. 3.75 stars B+. It was too messy to go higher than that, but the work was really strong across the board. Good.
Good match. Don't love the winner, but Charlotte's, the most accomplished women's wrestler of all time. I guess it makes sense for her to get some wins at some point, but if she's going to win here, I think I want her to win the whole thing. Otherwise, based on who she's going to wrestle next, which we'll talk about. So maybe sometimes you need to remember that, but I was just like, okay. It didn't feel fresh. I had picked Lyra. We were hoping for Lyra or something, but nonetheless, we move forward.
Not that Lyra needed to win the whole tournament, just this match. Give her something.
Yeah.
Advance her. 2 notes. Number 1, Charlotte is the only person out of the 8 people that advanced to the King and Queen of the Ring semifinals from SmackDown. The other 7 are Raw superstars. That's wild. It's also silly. 2, it's strange that WWE ran Sol against Lyra for the Intercontinental title last Monday on Raw, 4 days before they competed in a Queen of the Ring match. It would have made a lot more sense, since neither of them advanced, to run the title match afterward and create animosity between them built because they cost each other the match itself. Another example of WWE getting the booking right, in theory, putting them together, but getting the details a bit backwards. Blake Monroe received her latest diary entry vignette, this time focusing on Charlotte, whom she credited as one of the greats starting the women's evolution. However, she said Flair and Bliss are in a codependent relationship, believing they're stronger together when they're actually softer and weaker, which is what happens when stars burden themselves with friends and don't shine bright on their own. Again, for the 3rd week in a row, this was far better than what WWE did the prior month with Blake. Again, we wonder why the hell Monroe has not appeared on TV following that ridiculous 15-second backstage segment with Chelsea Green a month ago. I am now convinced, especially after this week, she's going to make her full-time debut in London. She'll get a great pop. This was good. I'm just frustrated that she's doing all of this and really frustrated that she's just not on Raw.
Veer is coming, and now he's got opponents in mind. What, she's name dropped Rhea, she's name dropped Charlotte. That's all it is. Nothing more to say until
Stratton
something happens.
Also, yeah. Baby faces, though. Stratton and Green fought Meechin and B-Fab. Tiffy backstage, who now has a bit of a Christina Aguilera dirty vibe going for her. She was cutting a promo when the heels threatened to attack her. Chelsea saved her with a kendo stick, saying she would get them a match if they want to fight. And Tiffy actually seemed appreciative, ready to finally accept her, at least in that moment. Green got a terrific pop for her entrance. I fail to understand why she is still wearing American flag gear, saluting, doing the president gimmick. She's not actively going after the title. Tiffy was still hands-off with Chelsea during their entrances. I enjoyed the heels' combined entrance. The vibe was right for Meechin and B-Fab. It remains nonsensical that they don't have a name or a tandem theme. Stratton hit her cartwheel Alabama slam seconds into the match, which told you it was going to be relatively short. Green actually received chance early. Meechin took her off the ropes with a hurricanrana. Cargill came down, pulled Tiffy off the apron to prevent a hot tag, but after Chelsea hit an illegal B-Fab with Unpretty Her, Meechin caught her with Styles Clash for the heel victory. Stratton attacked after the bell, but ate Jaded to end it. Not a great match by any means, not as poor as I heard before watching it. I understand that Chelsea can lose and lose and lose, and it won't impact her character. Still, if Tiffy was going to get her ass kicked anyway, it might have been a good idea to protect Green from an unnecessary L, especially considering she was by far the most over woman in the entire match. Light bad.
That's the thing where it's like, I don't know if they're hoping being with Chelsea's going to help Tiffany or something, but people like Chelsea. Like, they're going to stick with her. They want Tiffy to accept her friendship, not for Tiffy's sake, for Chelsea's sake.
Correct.
She just has that natural charisma that comes across, and people like it. And so, yeah, she takes a loss. You know, she's a character wrestler kind of more than anything else. She'll be okay. I'm okay with Meechin getting a pin here or there. Like, remind them that somebody can get a win. But I don't know if this really advanced the Chelsea Tiffany story at all. But I'll give it a light bad for that.
Yeah, I love the idea that Meechin got rewarded with a win because she's done great work the last couple of weeks. We've discussed it on the show. It was just like the wrong person at the wrong time. This is the way it felt. We had Io Sky against Raquel Rodriguez in a Queen of the Ring semifinal. This was the opening match on Raw. Raquel dominated early. Io moved on top with a run of signatures coming out of the break. Sky put a crown on her own head before hitting a missile dropkick and her emote. She tried a tope suicida sunset flip powerbomb. Rodriguez was too heavy at the base. Raquel tried a power slam into the announce table. Io slid down, threw her into the corner, smashed her into the top, and had fans assist her onto the barricade where she missed a flying double stomp and got tripped up. Sky dodged the twisting Vader bomb that still needs a name, then avoided Rodriguez, putting her head into the ring post before landing a high-effort sunset flip powerbomb back inside, plus over the moonsault for the 1-2-3 to advance clean into the finals. I loved this match. It was not the best work that Raquel has done, but the David versus Goliath aspect with their size differential, it made Io's victory feel heavily efforted and more accomplished than it otherwise would have been with a smaller woman. That's a credit to Rodriguez for focusing on working larger and stronger over the last 9 months. Sky was the obvious woman who needed to advance in this tournament, and Judgment Day not helping Raquel, it continued the storyline of Liv Morgan and Dominic only being out for themselves, expecting the rest of the faction to do their bidding and not caring about their success. Even though Io's booking has been far from perfect over the last 2 years, again, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. It's tough not to appreciate how much WWE and Paul Levesque believe in her. They keep putting her in major spots. This was another one. Easy good.
Yes, good match between the two, as you would expect. And Io has just kind of been hanging around for a while. You know, the Asuka stuff got pushed off a little bit. It wasn't on Mania. We all know how Triple H feels about Io Sky and that she'd be okay. Getting the win here to go to the Queen of the Ring finals makes a lot of sense. And it felt like she earned her way in there to get it. So yeah, this was good.
Danhausen was working in his laboratory when Los Garza randomly interrupted, begging him to recurse the Knicks because they have a huge bet on the Spurs. They also wanted protection for the Mexico men's national team. They handed a bag of human monies to him as a bonus, but he said under his breath that he wouldn't do it. Matt Cardona then came through, asking that the Knicks remain uncursed, but Danhausen demanded his watch as payment. Whew. He also deadpanned, "Hey, Zach," when he entered the room, which was tremendous. I love that he calls people names that they shouldn't be called for one reason or another. His quips are the best. Kit Wilson and The Miz then came in, with Miz stuck in 2010, acting like a zombie, saying his old catchphrases with a white streak in his hair following the electrocution last week. So Wilson tried to break the machine and himself got electrocuted, and Danhausen walked away from the mess that was created. What is so great about Danhausen is that he does not need to actively curse people in order for them to suffer in his presence. They work themselves into their own lather and suffer consequences. Second week in a row where I truly enjoyed this. Miz basically getting reset to factory settings, doing his old shit, hysterical. The roster, even the heels, believing curses are real, trying to bribe him accordingly. It's a really smart direction, even if it's temporary. Plus, the curse was not reversed on the Knicks. And my New York Knickerbockers won the NBA championship. Danhausen may never get anything other than a positive grade in this segment going forward, but this one definitely was good.
Yeah, it was funny. Like, it's something different. But wrestling is good when it's a variety show. This was different. The Miz doing his bit was pretty funny. He's got a long, just like track record of work to dig into and pull back on. And we haven't really done vintage Miz very often. So that was kind of a fun bit. I don't know what Kit Wilson's going to do because he doesn't have that, but this was fun. Good.
On Raw, a brief documentary aired about Danhausen uncursing the Knicks, who, as you've already heard 5 times, won the NBA championship on Saturday for the first time in 53 years. This included Ben Stiller putting him over, Timothy Chalamet holding the WWE championship, and more. 10 out of 10 documentary. Danhausen also came out during a commercial break, putting himself over as world famous with a ton of A-list friends. The t-shirt cannon gimmick and disappearance whole deal followed. This is the goodest good that has ever gooded for this documentary on this show. It's a good for this segment.
But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened.
Yes! I love that!
It's good. Vintage. You don't even need to weigh in. It's fine. Roxanne Perez backstage agreed with Liv that the faction needs to concentrate on her and Dominic, considering Raquel is now out of the tournament too. Morgan then knocked on a random door, during which I quickly said to myself, is she looking for Danhausen? And holy shit, yeah, she was specifically looking for Danhausen, who called her Olivia and sang her trouble track while working on his cloning machine. Morgan took off her jacket in sultry fashion to reveal a Danhausen t-shirt. He quipped, "Did you buy that?" And she starts massaging his shoulder, playing to his ego and his power. Liv wanted him to curse Oba Femi, so he demanded 3 doses of human monies, a spot on the music video, a song about him, magazine covers, and more. She got frustrated and just left. Talk about an unexpected delight. If there's anyone who deserves to have a segment, shoulder rub, and more with Liv coming off the Knicks NBA championship, it's Danhausen. This was pure fun again because it was so unexpected. Danhausen being dumb to her attempted flirtation, that was tremendous. And Liv realizing he's the one guy with whom she cannot succeed using her feminine wiles to get something from, considering he's obsessed with human monies and teeth and stuff. That was a great time. This was so damn good. It was almost as good as the Knicks documentary good.
Yeah, it was, again, funny, different, calling her Olivia. His quips are always so smart because when he says to Liv, "Did you pay for that?" That fits because for all the time Danhausen was doing the shirt cannon gimmick or whatever, he would always tell people to go buy the shirts.
Right.
Like so asking if another wrestler bought the shirt totally fits with what he's doing. So this was creative and funny and good.
And I think people are missing this too. The reason why the shirt cannon only shoots 1 or 2 is because he wants people to buy the shirt. So he comes out as if he's going to give 20 shirts to the audience, but he only gives 2 to make them like him. And he says, "Oh, make sure you go buy the shirt before you leave." So that's why that gimmick is so funny.
He's always been very smart, just like marketing wise. And this continues.
Killing it. So we had Flair against Perez. When this was announced before Raw, it felt random. But while it ultimately made sense that Roxy was fighting to try and give Liv an edge before their semifinal on SmackDown, because it was not a tournament match, Charlotte being on Raw was not at all logical. Super smart spot by Perez early. She caught Flair's chop and put it between the turnbuckles, slamming it into the ring post and then working the hand afterward. Charlotte caught her after the break with a Liger bomb, sold the hand while attempting chops. Flair got angry and no-sold Perez's attempted chops as Morgan ran Alexa Bliss into the ring post. She caught Roxy with a follow-away slam, chopped her with her left hand, hit a horrendous cartwheel lariat before Liv distracted, giving Perez an opening for a double springboard moonsault. Bliss prevented a Morgan distraction as the competitors fully botched this inside cradle that was supposed to be turned over by Alexa. Luckily, the actual finish was better. Charlotte stopped Pop Rock's cold, flipped Perez over her back, locked in the figure 8 for a submission that Roxy thankfully delayed for a few seconds before tapping out. This was a nice match that largely delivered. Charlotte spent a lot of time allowing Roxy to get over on her physically, despite the significant size differential. That was cool. The question is whether the injured hand impacts the semifinal or the final. Either way, it should be an indication Flair is not winning this tournament. Good. But like, I still don't like that Liv Morgan is in the semifinal here as the champion. Like, just, it goes against everything I like. And it goes back to they've had nothing for her to do since SummerSlam. And that is, since WrestleMania. And that's just a creative problem. Yeah.
That you get it to this point. And so, yeah, it'll play into their, match this week on SmackDown potentially. But I just don't like that Liv was only in the tournament, but then won. Like, we could have done Becky Charlotte here.
Right.
We could have done Charlotte Liv, Charlotte Bliss. What if they had to fight each other? Like, instead it's Liv Charlotte, which is just the least interesting way you can do it. Well, so that was frustrating.
Similarly, there's only 3 outcomes now. The first is that Io beats Charlotte, which, great. Love it. Okay. The second is Io beats Liv, who's a champion, and then just challenges her for the title because she already beat her. So we get the match at SummerSlam that we just got at Night of Champions.
She ain't challenging Rhea.
Right. Not good. The other option, of course, is Charlotte wins and challenges either Liv or Ripley. Not what I want.
She already fought Liv, and she could fight Ripley. And if you want to say, look, that's the thing.
She's already fought Ripley twice in WrestleMania matches. Don't forget.
Right. But if the thought is, look, if we're giving the King of the Ring to like Jey Uso or something and making it story-wise, maybe we make this one a big one. So we do Charlotte, Rhea, SummerSlam, feels like a big deal. Like, I can understand that one on paper. And they've kind of been around each other the last few weeks with stuff. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world because Charlotte is liked now, but it's also 2 baby faces, and you're putting Flair in a position. I mean, against Ripley, she's going to get booed again. So like that would be, it's at least understandable. Or the other option is you have Liv win, who is currently a champion, but they have not established what that would mean. Now in New Japan, when a champion wins G1 Climax, which is their huge round robin tournament, they get to choose their opponent for Wrestle Kingdom. If they had established that, where Liv would then get to pick her opponent, because it's different because in New Japan, you're picking your opponent you want to test. It's a different type of thing. Liv, a heel, would theoretically pick like Maxine Dupree, right? She wouldn't want to fight against someone significant unless someone got into her head that she's not a legitimate champion because she doesn't fight anyone good. She hasn't fought anyone. She hasn't defended against anyone, so on and so forth. The point is, there are problematic results with Liv going this far in the tournament already. If she gets into the final, it's hugely problematic. I'm expecting right now it's Io and Charlotte in the final. What about you?
Me too. I think that's the one where it feels the biggest. It's the cleanest because you don't have a champion in it. And you can make the case for both of them winning.
It's just going to be really interesting. If Flair beats Liv in a semi, what happens going forward there? Does she become her challenger?
I don't. No, she would challenge Rhea. She would have to challenge Rhea, and it would make sense.
I'm not saying for SummerSlam. I'm saying in the future. Like, so if Flair beats Liv, but then Io beats Flair, is what I'm saying. That's that situation.
Okay.
Because then Charlotte has a win over a champion, but she's on a different brand. What do you do then? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we'll find out. Paige and Brie Bella fought Fatal Influence in a non-title match. I love that Fallon Henley still gets to throw her cow pattern jacket on the camera during the heel's entrance. Too bad it happened during picture-in-picture. Classic heel tag team work by Influence in the early goings. Paige briefly locked Lainey Reed in the PTO before drilling her with Rampage, both broken by Fallon. JC Jane then saved Henley from a PTO. The referee caught and ejected her as a consequence. While directing her out of the ringside area, Henley caught Paige in a small package, so Bella ran into the ring, pushed them over, and watched as Paige instead got the 1-2-3 on Fallon. This was the same finish they tried to run in the Flair match that we just discussed, except it wasn't the end. So it was really interesting. They did the same sequence twice in as many shows. Brie once again struggled here. Unfortunate, as Influence ideally would have gotten a title shot if winning. And considering the faces kind of cheated to win, it's not like they were buried or anything, so that was fine at the end of the day. I do like that part of their gimmick. They're winning, not necessarily because they're better, but because they're more experienced and they're outsmarting their opponents. It's just that WWE has failed to truly strike while the iron was hot with them. Heaven forbid they slightly deviate from whatever plans they had laid. Influence has refreshed this division, but they've not been given a true push yet. Paige and Brie, they're sneakily having a great title run in terms of successful defenses, but at the same time, they're dragging down the potential of this division by holding the titles. It feels like WWE is waiting for Nikki to get cleared before moving on from them. Either that or the plane changes at SummerSlam, which is an excruciatingly long way away. Light good, mostly for Influence getting run with the veterans. JC had a great reaction to the ejection, and Paige is improving every single time she gets in the ring. So there's positives, but I still remain frustrated at the overall women's tag team booking.
Yeah, I'll give it a good. Like individually, it's a good. And I've gone from liking that the champions are racking up wins to legitimize themselves. That is important.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gone from that to frustration that they're pretty much winning the same way every time, which is like roll-ups and leverage pins and stuff like that. They're unless there's more that I'm not thinking of, they're often just kind of winning these matches in weird, like you said, creative ways, the veteran experience, sure. But if you keep doing it over and over, like you're not actually building them up as like a stout team to take down. They're not they're the champions who keep winning, but they're not dominant champions.
No, they're not.
It's kind of like the middle ground on that.
Pierce backstage on Raw appeared to inform Valkyria that he has finally granted her and Bayley a women's tag team championship match. That was alluded to, but not stated on the record, although it was announced later as official. As I said about Rollins, I assume Bayley was not at the show getting a week of vacation between trips to Europe. It was unfortunate, though, that we've had all this build. They finally get the match, and Bayley's not there to celebrate that they get the opportunity. You know what I mean? I wish there was more of an angle to it, but if the titles change hands next week, fine. Whatever. Make Bayley and Lyra the champions. Have them fight Influence at SummerSlam. That would be 100% okay. Trick Williams entered with Lil Yachty. He paused to dap up a white kid wearing a white fur coat, looking just like him. That was awesome. Trick accepted his King of the Ring qualifier defeat, saying it serves as motivation to step up his game and serve as a leader of the new school. Okay, busted bus. Williams ran through his slogans before Ricky Saints interrupted, but Carmelo Hayes followed and literally shoved Ricky aside on his way to the ring. Saints then hysterically ran into the ring and tried to grab a mic so he could speak before Mello. They obviously argued over who the number one contender was, almost like children in front of their father, which was only accentuated by Williams calling them out, saying to shut up while grown folks are talking. He told them to fight it out, which Saints started by pushing Mello into Trick. Hayes landed La Mystica, and he was pounding on Saints until Williams cleared house to stand tall. There was nothing wrong with the segment per se. It did feel extremely repetitive. I get that there is time to kill in this feud, considering King of the Ring is happening simultaneously. But at the same time, as I said last week with Mello, he keeps getting stuck by the creative team in these extended storylines that mostly just move in place. Hopefully they do a rubber match next week with a title opportunity coming on the back end, because as much as I like all three of these guys and I found the segment to be fine, I'm ready for everyone to move forward. I'll give it a light good. I wish it was better.
This is when I say they don't just do the thing. Like this has just been extended for weeks and weeks for kind of no real reason whatsoever. So when Cody says to Sami, "You'll never have this, you're a whiner." Okay, like we finally got to the point that you're just kind of alluding to forever. And here it's like, can we just pick one of these guys and go with them? Like instead, it's just like, we're going to do more matches and Trick Williams just kind of sitting there in place, waiting. I thought Trick was really good here, by the way. I thought his promo was really solid. Lil Yachty's just still here, by the way.
Yeah.
And in interacting with him in different ways that kind of elevate the segment, talking back and forth or Trick. But it's like, I guess we got to wait till either Night of Champions or SummerSlam to like finally pick one of these guys to go with. And I think everybody's just kind of annoyed with how long it's being stretched out.
Yeah, no question. We had Chad Gable against Rusev backstage before the match. Gable said he realized he had more people to address after handling his lucha business. Prior to entering, he came across Theory chatting up Maxine Dupree, and he shared a moment with the latter, but just got to the ring. So after last week, for those who listened to the show, you heard me praise WWE for using the Alpha Academy theme for Gable. He got a new theme this week. Some horrendous, I don't know if it's Def Rebel or AI generated rock anthem like you would hear in an 80s film. He also tried to get the crowd to do some emote where you smack your thighs and then clap above your head. It was way too contrived, and frankly, it looked stupid. I thought his presentation was straight up awful. A massive regression from last week. What about you?
I was intrigued by it. I only heard it the one time. I need to hear it more and see it more. It made me perk up. I was like, oh, this sounds different, and it sounds like it's got a little oomph to it. But I think I still need to just hear it and see a little bit more. I never want to judge an entrance out of one. Sometimes you can tell right away they nailed it. Like they nailed it with Austin Theory that one time, and then just kind of basically never do it again, which is too bad. I was like, like maybe that's one I wasn't a no. I wasn't a yes. I'm like, let me get a little bit more and get a feel for it. Because I think we're trying to figure out still what Chad Gable is. Like we knew what Austin Theory was. He just got new music that matched who he was. So we're throwing a new entrance onto Chad Gable where we don't really know what he quite is yet either.
All right, we'll circle back to your opinion on it in the future. It does feel like they're purposefully trying to go away from the American Olympic type of deal and just make him more generic, which I don't know that that's the right move. I understand they don't want him to be Kurt Angle exactly, but I don't think moving away from what makes him Chad Gable is the right move. Anyway, Ethan Page accompanied Rusev to the ring as Gable took an early shot into the steel steps. He landed a variety of suplexes before taking a fallaway slam into and over the announce table. Great looking spot. Excellent execution by Rusev. Page landed a shot on Gable during the break, but afterward, Chad powered Rusev back with a pair of German suplexes, a superplex, and ultimately an ankle lock submission. Another Page distraction resulted in Gable knocking him off the ring apron and eating a Machka kick for a false finish. Rusev then locked in the accolade. Gable got close enough to the ropes to force a break. He came back with an angle slam and then forced Rusev to tap a bit too quickly in a second ankle lock. Page attacked immediately. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee saved. For some reason, despite being outnumbered 3-on-1, Page ran back into the ring and got beat down again, and he got booted out of it. I don't know why in kayfabe they were chilling backstage, Dragon and Rey, when Gable already made good with them and saved them last week. The real reason was to create drama, but they ultimately each extended hands at the end. They lifted Gable to his feet for a celebration. A decade ago, I would have assumed that Gable would take the L here, and we would be depressed as hell about him coming back to Raw. It was nice to see Rusev get a bunch of offense and Gable need to fight through total adversity, including a submission finisher, to prevail clean while also being outnumbered. While I do have some issues with the presentation, the booking was spot on. No notes. Good.
Yeah, good start. Again, Rusev's a guy I like, would love him to get more, but he's still at the level of he can be a guy you overcome in a match and you believe it because he still is in kind of an intimidating force, the way he wrestles and everything, and that helps Chad Gable come back when good.
AAA Cruiserweight Championship, Rey Fenix defending against Axiom. WWE did well, showing highlights of Fenix's title win in Mexico, even if he was established as the new champion to create this challenge last week. So I wish they had done this last week, building to this week. I'm not a fan of other brands' titles randomly being defended on main roster shows. I've said this before about Ring of Honor shit, among other promotions being featured on AEW TV. This did happen for a reason, and it did more to make Fenix feel prominent than the rest of his main roster run to date. Fenix ate a high-angle German suplex snug dropkick at the onset that were nasty. Axiom also landed a ringside moonsault before taking Goodbye Amigo on a froggy crossbody. Then Axiom hit a super inventive Shinsuke Nakamura-style German suplex by flinging himself through the middle and top rope as if he was executing a tope suicida. Fenix did a Matrix-style avoidance of Golden Ratio, following with a brainbuster for a false finish. Rey took advantage of a missed running attack with a spinning heel kick before both guys held hands and hopped to the top rope for an avalanche Spanish fly. Fenix ultimately hit two more springing heel kicks and a Mexican muscle buster to retain the title in more than 12 minutes. This was the right match in front of the wrong crowd. Providence did make more noise the longer it went on and the hotter the wrestling got, but holy shit, did they sound like they were just disinterested for this match. Barely cheering, no chance, and that made for such a frustrating watch. WWE spent 2 weeks in Europe, and they're going back there, but they put this match between two luchadors in Providence, Rhode Island, perhaps one of the least diverse cities in the entire country, but even beyond that, not the type of place that you would expect would get roused up for lucha wrestling. Where was the foresight there? 3.75 stars B+ for the work. There was sloppiness in this match, some missed kicks. It really held it down from being in the A range. It was a good segment, a fun match, but shit, man, let a European crowd get these guys over and then return them to the United States. Axiom should have been fighting Rey Fenix in Spain, not The Miz. How hard is that to conceptualize?
Well, yes, at least Axiom did. If Axiom had not wrestled in Spain, we would say, what are you doing? But He did. So Miz is a classic heel. You beat the heel, you give him the cheers, whatever. It's fine. The problem with this is just there's no reason for anybody involved to care about any of the people in this.
Right.
Like you did the one package this week. It just match came out of the blue. The beginning of this, the crowd was as dead as you can possibly be for a match because they just had no concept of just any of this mattering.
Right.
And it did get a little bit better as it goes on. And sometimes they do that. They did that for a while with Dragon Lee when like nobody would react to him, but then you let him go 12 minutes and the crowd gets into it by the end. It didn't quite happen here. I put it on the crowd a little bit. I mostly put it on WWE. This is just a random thing coming in a promotion that most of them probably don't know about. Wrestlers they don't know about. It's just happening. This is a match you do on a dark match to open the show. Like I was shocked this was on television.
No, you're precisely correct. This is a booking that AEW would do, and people would say, oh, it's okay because they did a 5-second backstage segment and everyone knows that Phoenix won the title. No, they don't. You know, limited people watch AAA. And they were telling a story briefly on TV that, you know, Phoenix's brother Penta has a title and he doesn't, and he wants to be more successful, but they didn't have heels dragging him about it. They didn't make it a situation where he was down in the dumps because Penta's having success and he's not, and he finally won a title and now he wants to defend it on main roster TV. Had they done any of that, if they put effort into it, the fans would have cared more, except they just didn't. And lastly, Kiana James backstage said Julia betrayed her after James did everything she could to advance her career. Her claim was that Julia did not live up to their partnership the one time she needed her help after making her a champion. Julia interrupted, saying she only needed Kiana's help speaking English and negotiating a contract, not as a fighter because she is a fighter. James then said she didn't need Julia for anything, which was the antithesis of the promo she just cut, saying she needed her back in that match. Julia claimed Kiana used her momentum. James said that she already eclipsed her. Julia then had a really fun closing line saying, now that my English has improved, I know exactly what to say to you. And she didn't say anything. She just smacked Kiana James straight across the face.
What is the 5 fingers say to the face? What? Slap!
This gets it's a step in the right direction. It allowed Julia to show more agency and promo ability than her entire main roster run to this point. This is how you put a bow on this feud. You have Julia beat Kiana in one match where they are given time to both benefit from it. 10, 12, 14 minutes. Then you move Julia to Raw. You forget she was ever in a relationship with the business bitch, and you move forward.
This was good. I like this. I completely agree with your point that they need to have a match in a way that benefits both of them. Because while I think Kiana James has been established as a character, and she's not totally wrong when Kiana says, I have eclipsed you. Like Kiana's gotten more airtime, basically, than Julia, and the language barrier is a big part of that. But Kiana's not an established wrestler yet. She hasn't picked up very many wins. She's had some here and there, but it's not like she has gotten a lot of wins. So you can't just have Julia just beat her easily and then be like, boom, that's it. Because for being honest, I think the ceiling is probably higher for Kiana James as a character in WWE, not as a worker. And, you know, Julia's language it was a good delivery there, but there are limits we know in WWE to what that can do. I don't think it may not be a coincidence that we're doing this now with Julia after Asuka's gone. And she's kind of always had a similar thing. So this is going to be interesting. And I think they have a real opportunity to get both of them over and really make something of this. And I hope they do. And I hope it's not just like a one thing Julia gets to win and we're off. Because I think both of them can really do something separate from each other. I think being together kind of hurt both of them.
Totally. Yeah. They can both thrive and succeed separately in completely different ways. That's why it's one match with time. They both look good. Julia needs to win that. Separate them and just move forward with both of them and forget it happened. It was such a poor booking decision, and WWE can absolutely do better and has done better with women like both of them in the past. Now, the show has gone long. Before we get out of here, WWE published not one, but 2 unaired segments from Raw on Monday night. And I need to stress once again, this does not make any sense. They don't have a stop time for Raw. They can put as much as they want on this damn show. If they think this is important enough, put it on the program, or at least air it during the commercial breaks, because the commercial break stuff on Monday night was not fantastic. I'm going to play both of these. We're going to see if they're anything notable. The first involves Danhausen, I believe Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough as well, which I presume was some type of follow-up to the Liv Morgan segment.
Yo.
Hey.
Bro! Hey! You ever hear of knocking? Your girlfriend did it.
What do you think I just did?
Hey. Yeah, who are you?
Enough talk, all right? We're here for business.
I need you to curse someone right now.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
Right
Wow.
now.
It's 100,000 US. Buy yourself a new PC.
Human monies! Very rich, very evil. Nice. All right.
Hey, my match is next. I need
Oh,
I need you to
yeah.
curse
You wanted
them.
me to curse somebody.
Yes, right now.
What's his name?
Oba Femi.
Yeah, you got it. You are what? Oba Femi.
Yes.
The Oba Femi.
Yeah.
The one who decimated, eviscerated, annihilated Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? That Oba Femi?
Yes. Curse him. I gave you money.
Ooh, I think I'm going to back up on that one and pass. You're on your own.
Take it easy.
I told you we couldn't trust him.
You go get ready for the match. I'll sort out this idiot, all right? Where's the
He
money?
took the money. What am I going to do now? Now I have to go out there and... Oh my gosh, Oba without the curse.
Good segment, advanced it forward. I guess it didn't need to be on the show now that I look at it, but it was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't add it on there. Just do it. Here is the second segment the WWE did not air. It involves Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. So I guess perhaps Bayley was there. Let's see.
Backstage with Bayley and Lyra
She was
Valkyria.
indeed.
Ladies, we just heard the amazing news. Next week in London, you have a title opportunity against the tag team champions themselves, Brie and Paige. How are we feeling?
I mean, we're as surprised as you are to see that on... I'm a little less surprised. I wanted to be the one to tell you, but I'm the reason it happened. I spoke to Pierce. I know he's been giving us the runaround for the longest time, wouldn't speak to us, but I made it happen. I got us the match.
You got us the match.
I got us the match. Jackie, get the pity out of your eyes now. Okay. You are not talking to two losers. You are speaking to the future tag team champions. This is the one. This is the one we've been waiting for. This is the one.
Oh.
What's wrong, dude?
Nothing.
Got your tooth?
No, I'm just,
Come on,
I mean, I had no idea, but I'm excited. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah. Come on,
I mean,
get your working boots on. I need to see some fire in those eyes, okay?
All right,
We got
there
a
we go.
lot
I
of
guess
work
we're
to
going
do.
to London.
First of all, they deprived us of a Jackie Redmond segment, which is unacceptable. But even beyond that, I thought that was a little bit character relationship building. It would have been nice to be on the show. I don't understand why they just cut stuff like this off. They showed Lyra, seemingly getting the match, that she was going to go tell Bayley, and then they didn't show us her telling Bayley. Instead, they just make the announcement here, again, nearly 24 hours after Raw went off the air. I don't get that.
On SmackDown, you've got time limits. When it's Raw stuff, it's more an excuse.
That's what I'm saying. It's the only time I criticize it is when it's Raw. It's the only time, because they have so much time. Or if you're not going to be able to show it on screen, post it immediately after the show goes off the air. Why are you doing it at 4 p.m. on Tuesday? That to me doesn't make any sense. All right. Look, long show. I appreciate everyone indulging me at the opening for all my New York Knicks talk. We'll put a pin in it, I guess. I mean, the parade's going to be Thursday. We have another show on Thursday, so you might hear a little bit more from the Silver King. But no, seriously, we have a lot in the world of professional wrestling to cover before the week is out, and certainly through the end of the month and beyond. On Thursday, we will be back with a double dose of NXT and AEW. Of course, next week in the space on Tuesday, we'll be back talking all things WWE. Appreciate vintage Chris Vannini joining for an extended episode and covering everything that we did over the last couple of hours. On the way out of this episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, everyone needs to remember here on this show,
It's all about Defy.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You can check the link in our profiles and join our free Slack channel on YouTube. You can listen to the show. You can watch full-length video interviews. Find us on social media at Getting Overcast. And don't forget,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news, analysis, and op-eds from the Silver King as well. Sign up, support us. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. All right, let's wrap up this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. For vintage Chris Vannini, this is the Silver King Adam Silverstein signing off. and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.